books that suck, but also whatever cooks. But if you give us too much shit, we'll just get pissed off and quit. So don't do it. It's time for Marvel Comics Spotlight Show, telling you everything that we know. It's time for Marvel Comics Spotlight Show. Let's go.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Weird Science Marvel Comics podcast. I am here with my man, Matt. What up, Matt?
What up, Jim?
What up is me and you are doing two books. I don't know if me and Sully are doing things. I might assume, maybe, that we'll be doing some things, but me and you get to talk about one of our favorite books, or if not our favorite book right now, because as that song tries to, I don't know what's cooking here over at Marvel. There's not a lot. And so we end up where we have a couple books that we kind of always review, and then we grab a couple number ones, things like that, which is what we're going to do this week, because we have Spider-Boy, and then we have a Daredevil book that is really odd. Daredevil, Cold Day in Hell. The big thing would be a Steve McNiven book, but it seems from reading the thing in the back of that book, this thing has been, gestating for 6-7 years. And now it's coming out, and it's odd. It's an odd book. We'll be talking about it. It's like an oversized prestige format. I believe it's 3 issues. So who knows? I think some people will dig it, though. I don't know. When we get into it, we'll tell you what it reminds us of, and it's not something that is very beloved. It's not one of those. And also, it doesn't matter. See, I had to get that back. Jason took all of my sound effects, all of my deal. But before we go on, please check out our website, WeirdScienceMarvelComics.com, where you can see Sus Gabe's reviews and yell at them like everybody else. That's what seems to be happening. Everybody yelling. I don't mind if anybody yells at Gabe, but then they start getting weird and saying like Gabe should be censored,
and it's all anonymous that does it too.
And that's bull crap. Yeah, all of that stuff, and I was fighting.
And weren't they just
on the comic book roundup?
Were they doing the same review, just copying and pasting it on different
for every
reviews?
one of Gabe's reviews? That's what they do, and so also it's like they're just user reviews on comic book roundup, which I like to sometimes say loser reviews. I'm hoping maybe they're listening.
They're trying to cancel them or like get them fired or something.
I love
from a
the
fake
idea.
job.
It's like they're there on the site that they end up putting. And most of these people who do reviews, user reviews on the Comic Roundup, they only put a score, or they put, "This is cool," and then there's a score. And yet they're saying that they said the site isn't actually legit until they censor Gabe up. That makes it not legit. This guy was a complete moron. And then I started, kind of arguing with him. And then all these other morons joined in. So I was talking to all the morons. So you end up where, there you go. You go over and see all that. But here we are for our books. And if they want to, give a shit, I don't know where they're going to find, I guess YouTube. They could find us and give a shit there. But who the hell cares? Who cares? Spider-Boy, what is this? Number 18. Spider-Boy, number 18, Full Circle, Chapter 1, Keys to the Kingdom. The book is going to be finishing in, I think, issue
number 20. Yeah.
I told you the last couple issues, especially last issue, I called it. I said this book is ending very soon. They are Dan Slott is arranging things, and it's not putting the toys back in the toy box. What it is, there's a bunch of dangling threads that if he leaves open, makes everyone look like an asshole. So he ends up with with Boy Spider. And the idea of the farm that Bailey's mom kind of ditched. So I said, they're going to have to do some of these things. I think one of the other big things is Hell If I Know will have to be maybe changed back. Or maybe I would guess at the end, all of the Humanimals will get to choose if they get turned back into people.
Probably.
I think that they're going to have the choice, mainly, I think, because Bailey will probably want to become or stay Spider-Boy. But you could be screwed up. I mean, Dan Slott could just be like, hey, whatever, and turn Bailey back into Bailey. It'd be weird.
The only thing that makes me think otherwise is he called this volume 1, so I think he'll eventually get back to it.
That's why I don't think. And if he did end up doing that, you could always revert it anyway.
Yeah, that's true.
But I think most of the other Humanimals, like Hell If I Know and those guys, will end up being turned back. Or, like I said, nowadays they'll be given the choice and they'll see and whatnot. And again, Bailey will probably just choose to be Spider-Boy. But in this issue, which is written by Dan Slott, art by Paco Medina, colorist by Eric Arcienega, Letters I VC's Joe Caramagna, we keep finding out more and more that Christina's parents, especially their dad, are a bunch of jerks. They're really jerks in this. And it's funny, too, because you end up having Feast, obviously, is huge in this book. It's also an ASM. But you also have a similar themed deal in that Daredevil book next. And the idea that people, they're not real appreciative of people helping them out. Christina's parents are just, at least the mother kind of says, dude, they're giving us free food and shelters. Yeah, but I'm not getting paid because he's doing just chores.
Yeah, he's doing a chore or two. Who cares?
Well,
taking out the trash or
also,
something.
Yeah, they're doing that and like, hey, where's our young daughter? Like, they never know where she is.
They're the worst parents ever.
They're the worst. They're so bad. So you start this out and you end up having, this whole play earlier when Bailey, before he was Spider-Boy, the idea that they lived above Feast. And this is going to show you how he got grabbed to go to the farm with Madame Monstrosity. And again, a little bit of a tidbit that I think Dan slots well. I should, get that out there before it's canceled. And his mom ends up, hey, what's going on, Bailey? And Bailey's like, I don't like living above a homeless shelter. I don't invite my friends over. Later on, his friends will be from the homeless shelter because it's Christina. But still, he's like, hey, look at that. And she's all mad. You can't act like that. It's a weird progression when all of a sudden there's, Mr. Negative's guys are down in Feast. And Bailey's like, I hear something, and goes down. And I kept losing, not that I know where they are, but it seemed like things kept switching and where they're going. And it's bigger than I thought. But the idea that they're there, and it seems as if they're trying to find those keys. That's what Christina has found. That's the whole tie-in to them. So they're there to find them. They're gassing the whole place. Plus, they're gathering up people to end up taking to the farm. So it's kind of a multifaceted deal. But in the meantime, Bailey gets grabbed. He gets thrown into this van. I believe the one kid there is, hell if I know, when we end up, getting to the play. Later.
It is. Yeah.
Yeah, so I always thought he looked like Miles, but he's there and they're trying to figure out where they are. And this is the whole play that Mr. Negative's making some money, but he also wants to get some more of, an army. He wants to have an army of these monstrosities, right? Yeah. Because he ends up, he doesn't have enough of his guys there. So he ends up saying, hey, I have a limited amount of guys. He mentions gang war, which would be coming up later, and it's just the same things. And you end up where he has to demonstrate. I like that he tries to shake the hand of Madame Monstrosity. She's like, I'm not that dumb. But it was kind of a good setup for what happens later. But in the meantime, I hate that like praying mantis guy. We've seen him, but we've seen him all before. But there's the little mouse,
the praying mantis guy, I think, wears a suit now. He's kind of upgraded.
Yeah, I don't like that guy. He weirds me out. But yeah, also the idea with Mr. Negative running around with these bug animal people, I don't know if it would work, but no. He's there to try to, figure these out. And he has that key, and he ends up saying, hey, I have the keys to my kingdom, all that. Here you go. And so all of this going down is connected to Christina, who has been collecting the keys. Which she even started out in one of the Spider-Verse. It even says Edge of Spider-Verse, the Bleeding Edge #3. So that has come into this. That's what's going to end this whole key thing, because she ends up going to a bank and she's going all over the place. It's like Wheels in the Leg Man, where she goes to this bank and she's like, hey, these keys here for that. Like, keys? You mean kilos of coke? I wish that it was Wheels in the Leg Man.
Yeah, like a girl going to a bank is never going to end well. Like, it's just, they're not going to talk to you or help you.
No, they're going to like, okay. And at the end, this guy, he's sus.
Oh, yeah.
Which you do have mention of Bailey saying that she's being sus. I thought it was funny, but she's like, these keys, I'm looking for a bank. It looks like a safety deposit box. He's like, no, never saw them. I'll take them for you, though. I'll hold them. She's like, no, I'll be going. And then he gets on the phone. He's in with Mr. Negative, and then she gets attacked. She gets attacked by Mr. Negative's cronies, and Spider-Boy jumps in and says, I was kind of following you. She's like, oh, did you know I was going to get in trouble? He did. We saw that, right? Remember when he was touching? But he kind of lies about it, but I guess he doesn't want to reveal. I don't know. But he ends up there kicking some butt. And you have this whole play where she's, there, and I don't know. There's not much to it. it's just
it's
a
not.
fight.
It's weird too for her to assume that those keys are safe deposit box keys. Like they look like something out of a museum or something.
Yeah, like they would be like a music box. Or
you
something.
wouldn't think
Some weird
safe deposit box for that. It's
yeah,
weird.
Yeah, because they do look like magical or like more
they're very
artifact-y.
ornate. Something that like Doctor Strange would use.
Yeah,
or Thor.
So what you're saying,
like,
it's less wheels in the leg band than actually like a Thor thing or whatever. Because they do look very fancy.
Yeah.
But she was right. She realizes, oh my God, that was the place. Somehow now they're going to rob the bank. It's crazy. I think that it's because their dad's been bitching and moaning about having no money for so long. But the fight's okay. You just have a fight.
And one of the guys gets his mask knocked off.
In the meantime, you end up having Peter, who's at Feast, obviously, doing work and getting kind of shit for it. Like, he's like, you still have to get somebody to check this stuff out. I'm not the greatest or whatever. But then there's Bailey's mom who says, hey, I don't know where Bailey is. He's gone. Can you go find him? And she ends up where Peter says, last time you talked to me, and she says, can you get your friend Spider-Man?
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, last time you asked to get Spider-Man, you slapped him right in the face. And now she's being nice. The idea that he swings away and goes, man, one time she's nice, now she's mean, then she's nice again. I'm like, it's Bailey's mom. It's not like this is anything big. She slapped you because you had Bailey doing crazy shit. And he's a little kid. And now she needs help. I mean, it's not that crazy.
I think she's slapping him because she might want to,
well, maybe
bang him a little bit.
Well, again, maybe she wants to do that to
She's
Peter.
She's a single mother.
The idea
Peter.
of Spider-Man, though, is who she slapped. And
she
kind of does that weird thing of talking about Spider-Boy in the deal in front of May. It was a weird play.
I noticed that the mom looks a little younger and hotter a little bit in this
maybe
issue.
It is.
I don't know.
And Mary Janery. And she's like, hey, look at me. I'm Venom. But you end up where all with the whole deal, one quick costume change and it goes off and these cats and all this going on. But that's also where we see that dad and they end up where, and it's translated from Mandarin, but Peter's doing his deal. You have May and then you have Christina's parents who also look very young. Like the dad looks like he's
18,
15,
19,
right?
Yeah. The mom's happy, smiling and everything.
Oh, yeah.
She's happy to be helping out.
He's back home. I was licensed for this exact job, but little good that does me here. They're not even paying me for this. I'm like, you jerk. They're feeding you and your family, and you're living there. And the wife goes, this place has been very good to us, dear. It has fed, clothed, and housed you, me, and Christina. And he's still like, the hell with you, lady. Like it's not like you even have him say, you're right, I'm just tense because I want to provide for my family. It's embarrassing. No, he's just a piece of work.
It's everything you need. Oh, okay, you're not getting a salary, but you have everything else you need. Like,
yeah, he's like, I really want to make. Well, again, he could say, but it makes me feel less of a man or something crazy. But the idea is like, I really want to work so I can buy things like that.
He wants to buy an Xbox is what he wants to do.
Yeah, really. He's like, I got to get some new kicks. Look, he looks like he's got brand new shoes on.
He's like, I need the new Jordans. What's going on here?
Guy. Holy crap, he's got his ball cap on, all that. I'm sure the Feast is doing even more than what they're even talking about.
He's like, I want to wear anything other than the color brown.
That's the thing. They're like, we know your favorite color's brown. He's like, I told him it was yellow. These jerks. He's complaining about everything. He's like, oh, man, for the third night in a row, we're having filet mignon.
Yep.
What the hell? Like, he's so mad at everything. Everything's so great there. People are busting to get in. Well, Mr. Negative guys were. But yeah, so Peter goes and he hears that, oh, God, there's a bank robbery. Bailey's involved. So he ends up, and it's a bank that we'd already had seen Christina go in. But Christina already said, hey, Bailey, you want to go rob a bank with me? Must explain the idea. This is where it's funny because me and Eric have had this argument on the DC show before he left, the idea of if somebody's bad, can you just do whatever you want to them? Or if you're good, can you? And so they're robbing a bad guy bank. And Bailey and Christina do not understand that that's not wrong. Where Peter, Spider-Man, comes in and says, hey, well, where's the bank robbers? Bank robbers? Where are the bank robbers? We're robbing the bank. And Peter's like, you can't do that. And Christina says, oh, it's a bad guy bank. Like, we could steal the... And he's like, it doesn't matter. Like, every bank, as he says, every bank is a bad guy bank. But he ends up saying, like, you can't just rob a bank just because you think that it's got bad money, whatever. There's still laws and rules. And they're like, And then you end up where I like Christina tries to get Spider-Man on the side. Well, all this money could really help Feast. I'm like, no, that's not going to work. But yeah,
No.
in the meantime, you did have that captain outside that's kind of been friends with Peter and Bailey.
Yep.
And she wasn't letting anybody go in. She wants to she's waiting for Spider-Man to show up. And there's police there, but the guns are in the holster. So Mr. Negative comes and is like, hey there, people. And he puts his hands on everyone.
Starts touching people.
Yeah, so they end up, it's sus. They end up where they end up being corrupted by him, and they have that negative deal. Guns drawn, they're going to go in and shoot. Shoot first, ask questions later. So that's pretty much the deal. You end up where I'm sure that Christina is going to, I'm sure they're going to get in some weird, like, hey, you kids, you better not do that again kind of weird trouble. And the mom and dad will be there, and Christina will end up saying, I just am tired of my dad bitching and moaning. It won't be that mean, but it'll say, I hear you all the time complaining that we don't have money, so I wanted to get money, and it's going to make the father and the mother look even worse.
I would be blaming that dad for everything if I were her.
He ended up remember at one point they said they were going out to look for jobs, and then you saw them, and they were just like standing around. Like, I'm sure there is work, but you don't even know why he can't get work or what their situation is. I don't know. The guy's only job is to bitch and moan, is what it is. That's the
He's
worst
doing a
part
good job. He should get a promotion.
He's working overtime. That's what he's doing. No tax on that bitching overtime, I guess. But what do you give this?
I mean, I'm glad to see Paco Medina back on the art.
It's good.
I'd give this one a solid 7.5.
I'm giving it a 7.
Yeah,
I'm just going to give it a 7.
It's pretty standard Spider-Boy stuff.
It's getting things into place to just end, though. It's weird because the things that you want to, like I said, some of the things in the past with Madame Monstrosity, okay, we kind of know where that leads to because we've been reading the book, but that'll be kind of okay. But the idea of these keys and things like that, we'll see how it works out.
Yeah, I'm not too into the keys, if I'm being honest.
I'm not either. And I'm telling you, I don't mind Christina, but I like Bailey. I like Bailey, and then Christina kind of being there bitching and moaning at him because she likes to nag a lot when they were doing some things. But in the meantime, these keys and robbing a bank, Bailey should know better than that.
Yeah.
So with that, though, we'll move on to the next book, which is going to be weird to talk about. This book it's odd. I don't want to say too much about odd or weird. I'll be told by Drunk Simon that I'm a moron. But with this, you get the Daredevil Cold Day in Hell. He's so mad that me and Gray didn't understand the Martian Manhunter, Absolute Martian Manhunter. But Daredevil Cold Day in Hell, written by Charles Soule. Well, actually, story by, I think, both Charles Soule and Steve McNiven. Art by Steve McNiven. These credits are in the back. I can't stand that. Also, I was really worried that it was real oversized. You got a lot of, pencil drawings and things like that at the end, the sketches.
Yeah, I always like when that happens. I'm like, oh, okay, 10 pages of nothing
Not
at the
when
end.
that you mean when we're reading it and you think something's 40 issues and it's actually 28. I'm like, thank God. Because it's a little bit of a slog to get through it. I did not think, at one point, I was going to tell you.
I know.
I think we're
I
just
was waiting
doing
for
Spider-Boy because it's weird, but it's Charles Soule and Steve McNiven on story, dialogue by Charles Soule, art by Steve McNiven. In the back, you end up having it pretty much confirmed by Jerkoff Nick Lowe that this is actually a Marvel method. They are going back and forth with it, drawing. Then Charles Soule put in some of the dialogue and go back and forth with that. That's kind of cool. It's also been something that's been percolating, as I said earlier, since 2019. They've been wanting to do this. This was being started when there was still like hot claws and shit around. They were saying in the back, letters by Clayton Coles. And so when you get this, me and you both said the same thing. Everybody has to think it. It looks like Spider-Man Reign. It reads like Spider-Man Reign. I'm waiting for Mary Jane to show up and somehow Matt Murdock's, radioactive sperm killed her too. In that way, it ends up where you go through it and you're just thrown in this idea of a future New York City where Matt is just an old man. He seems to have lost his abilities, which is kind of odd the way that would be because his abilities are kind of just.
Yeah, once you get them, you get them.
Yeah, and how he reacted to getting the spill and things like that. In my mind, it wasn't quite like, Spider-Man. It's a thing that you're just using. It's being able to adapt. But he's there and he's talking at the beginning like he's talking to an old friend at a gravesite, and it ends up being Fisk. And then you just get into it, and there's weird talk about some group. It seems like some, foreign group. I don't know. They're doing weird things and everything's blamed on them. And then for the meantime, you just have Matt kind of wandering around.
Isn't it weird that Wilson Fisk could be buried in Staten Island, though? You think he'd be against that, right?
And just one little gravestone. I would think he'd have a lot of shit, but he's husband,
like a
father,
mausoleum
king.
or something.
Yeah, something like that. But there it is. And again, that's like, there's one of the wow moments that you end up having him is like, yep, I've been doing this, and he's kind of talking to himself, and then you see that it's Fisk, and it's this big thing of like, God has a plan that kind of gets repeated over and over. But then there's just Matt just like walking around, and
it's weird too, because how old would you say he is here? 70?
Yeah, about that.
And he's still got red hair or yellow hair or whatever.
Yes. I mean,
he's dyeing his hair, huh?
Maybe that'd be funny. Just, some guys keep the hair color. And then
why would he care, though? A blind guy that can't see his hair cares about his hair.
Maybe he just has it. It's like Bill Burr. He doesn't shave it. It's just, he's losing it. But again, you can barely recognize him, and he's just old. And he mentions Jessica Drew when he's talking to Fisk, and like, hey, she was doing this. There was some war that came before this. He had to tell her, I had to sit that out. I don't have my powers. And then you just kind of move on, and you have this weird book where it's just Matt wandering around. This one guy, he's on this ferry, and he figures he's, had enough. You even see at one point the ferry was used as a radioactive shelter. So obviously this war, something really bad happened, but they don't want to, take down shit. I don't know. So you end up
like the Brooklyn Bridge or one of those bridges is down completely.
Yeah, it's all down. It's all destroyed. You have this never surrender, never forget. And again, there's this group that's being mentioned that if it's
the
something
DBs.
that's, DBs, I'm like, okay, is that just the enemy? Was this some other thing? Is it some mutants? I don't know. We don't know. Or if you do know, it's something I'm just not aware of. But the art, it's cool. It reminds me of Carrie Andrews stuff.
It's Carrie Andrews, or even like a Frank Quitely, maybe a little bit.
Yeah. So when you're
too.
going into it, though, everybody starts looking alike. Though all the old people start looking alike.
Oh, wrinkled
all
up.
Of these homeless people, everybody has this weird look to them. And I'm right here as I'm going through this. I'm trying to see the page just to tell people the idea. I'm about page 10.
Okay.
And at this point, I was already thinking, what the hell am I reading this for? Now, again, I think that this is one of those books that if you're going to read it, I'd wait for the trade, because or if you're a Steve McNiven fan, or you just go for this. But I'm telling you, at the end, I just ended up feeling like a blank stare. Like, I don't know if I like it. I don't know if I hate it, because I don't know what it is. And when you go into it not knowing what it is, it just ends up like, I've got a weird footing on this one.
It's kind of upsetting because you're used to seeing Daredevil do cool stuff, acrobatic, and has all his powers and everything. But now he has nothing, and he's just kind of wandering around. He's old, too.
And he ends up where then he's on this ferry. This guy comes out, and this guy who looks like he's like, I don't know, Elvis Jr. The guy comes, hey there, buddy. What's going on? Hey. What about them DBs? Like, they're a bunch of pieces of crap, eh? And then you end up where Matt's not talking. Then he gets mad. He wants to fight him. Oh, what, are you too good for me with your fancy scarf? And then Matt, shows him the walking stick. Oh, man, oh, geez, I feel like a real asshole here or whatever, But, and then Matt says, I only want to say one thing. It's all part of God's plan. I'm like, okay.
Yeah, he does that a lot in this.
Yeah, I'm like, okay, we see the bridge down. And, things are messed up. I get it. Then you move to the next scene where they go back into Manhattan. Subway closed forever. You have all these things going on in this where Matt then has a homeless guy come up to him, or unhoused. I don't know what they use in the future in this part if they're worried about that stuff. But he's like, give me some money, man. I'm hungry. And Matt pulls out a wad of cash like an idiot. And the guy's like, I'm going to take that money. And he's
like, take what you need. Leave the rest for me.
Yeah, I'm like, what is this, Halloween? What are you, handing out candies? And he gets the money and pushes Matt down the stairs. Then Matt does a flip. The problem is, you don't even get to see it. Like, in that, the guy even says, you see him do that
Yeah, that flip was amazing. Yeah.
It looks like he just fell down and fell on his face. Maybe that guy thinks that's a flip. Like, I want to see that. I wanted to see at this point, that after image type deal where, oh my God, this old guy, because he doesn't have his abilities anymore, but he says, okay, I kind of remember this. Oh no, I'm in trouble. This other guy is another guy. They're in cahoots. They end up grabbing it, and Matt just goes on. This goes on for too many pages where the guy.
Like 10 pages?
Yeah, it's like, holy moly. And the Matt's like, take whatever. You guys can get a meal. I have like $30. And by the way, I have a kind of like feast.
Soup
He's like,
kitchen.
I have a soup kitchen called Battlin' Jack's. You can go free hot meals on the reg. No preaching. And a book. And they seem intrigued. And then he has to say, it keeps going like, and I don't know who you are. I'm blind, so I wouldn't even know it was you guys there, even though he would know their voices because of the deal. But
they do show up, though. They're sitting there.
You could go. They grab the money, run away.
Yeah.
The walking stick suddenly looks like a goalie stick. I was laughing at that. But then he's like, hey, give me the cane. You don't need it. And the guy turns around and throws the cane and whaps Matt right in the face. and that's the action for that's half the issue. We're not doing anything. It's a slow burn. It's going to be a slow burn. It's an odd book, and I think that it's one of those where if you're going to like it, I think you'll know right away. Some people get a kick out of stuff like this. Some people, it's like their jam, these sort of things. It's not mine. And I just end up like, yeah, all right. He got hit with, I'm telling you, I did the same thing. I laughed when he got hit with the walking stick, the cane. And then we go to Battling Jack's, house for some of the meals, and there's Matt, and he's doing dishes, and they're handing out meals, and they have all the paraphernalia for his dad up and whatever. You do see those guys. They did show up. Yep. I would. They're like, all right, now I could use that money for heroin and go and get a meal. That's even better. And then you hear some of this stuff from, hey, latest update from the southern border. So it seems like there's still trouble about, and there's still this, whole world, whatever is going on. And you end up, General Barton's border teams have captured 4 attempted DB infiltrators in the last week, a promising result. I don't know if we're going to deal with all of that and if it's going to come to be. And usually in these things, what ends up happening then is that all of this is all false flag shit from everybody. And it's just a shitty world that everybody's trying to, you don't get anything here for it. But Matt ends up with that, and they kind of you see somebody running from the subway, they're yelling, oh my God, and then there's a big explosion.
It's weird too, because I guess that subway's not closed, because why are people down there?
I guess maybe it's closed, like there's no subway, but the kids like hanging
out down there.
They're hanging down there. What kids do in abandoned subways, play hopscotch, maybe, a little bit of jacks,
But
all that stuff.
Yeah, but what happens is odd too, because it blows up. Radioactive shit goes flying everywhere, and he gets his powers back.
Yeah, and in that, the subway is like right next to where he is. He goes
taking
out to throw away trash.
Yeah.
And this is where I even thought early, like, you lose track of like what is going on and what he's doing, whatever. But there's this explosion, and you're assuming because it is gaseous and it's green, and it might be the DBs and whatever. But whatever happens, it ends up hitting Matt. And it activates his powers. But his powers, were always, accentuated by the deal. But it was also him being blind and the things. But all of a sudden, they're back. And so he can hear everything. And then he can also see without seeing. Oh, we know what, the Daredevil deal. The only one who wouldn't was Reggie, God rest his soul. Guy ended up reviewing some Daredevil things and thought that Matt was deaf. And that really shocked me because Reggie is so knowledgeable about almost everything, but I realized, he doesn't read a lot of Marvel.
He's slacking on the Marvel history.
Yeah, he was more of a DC guy. But now he's dead, so he doesn't have to worry about it. But so you end up where all this.
But don't you think it would have been better if he just never lost his powers? Like, why do we need this?
Just have it where he just ends up where you're just
he's just out of practice or something.
Yeah, and maybe it is the play because you want to explain, I guess, why he wasn't in this war.
In that war,
maybe he didn't want to be. I think that I
would have been like, "Hey, Daredevil, you're not in the war because you're not that useful in wars."
I would think that he's, a guy who was like, "I'm not in the
he
war.
Retired.
I'm a priest. I'm going to end up," because he is dressed as a priest as well. They end up, mentioning that. But everything's coming back, and he's remembering when he was a kid. He remembers Stick and all that. But again, when you see Stick, and it's like, he looks like every old guy. And I'm telling you, we're getting towards where the big guy at the end, and I don't know who it is now. I think it's Stick. I don't know. I don't know, because Matt there all of a sudden rises up in this gaseous deal, And he's like, all right, I got my powers back. He's starting to tell people what to do. Grab that girl, grab this, because a bunch of kids and things did get hurt, and the people in Feast and things like that. But again, he ends up where there's these vats. It's just
well,
weird.
That's why this reminds me of the Corianders thing, too, because it's once he got his powers back or whatever the hell happened in that, he starts jumping around like he's 20 years old again.
Peter with his long ass beard and he was swinging around.
That's what Matt's doing here.
Yeah, he's just jumping around now.
And he even looks younger.
Well, yeah, he looks a day older than 58.
There you go.
He's still younger as shit, but he looks younger until he doesn't. But in that, you end up where he hears some people down the subway. There's people that are hurt. He hears the people maybe that ended up doing this, and you just keep having this weird play of like, hey, look what I got. And you see it's Cap's shield. They want to try to shield it a bit, but you see it, and he's like, I'm going to give it to the boss. He's going to love it. You don't do that, you moron. Put your mask on. I don't care about my mask. And it's just back and forth. I'm like, all right, here we go. And he keeps hearing this heartbeat and doesn't seem to realize what it is or what he's hearing. And then, boom, you go and you see that it's Cap, Steve Rogers, and he's holding up.
That's a cool page, though, I think.
Yeah, he's holding up part of the deal. It's almost like a Spider-Man deal.
Yeah.
From back in the day, because you even have, it's more of like soot and things coming down.
But now he's got the rebar hanging out of him.
Yeah, he's got that, and it looks like some girl got hurt, and they were after her, or whatever the heck is going on. But Steve says, hey, take her, save her, and then the whole thing collapses on Cap, and it seems like he's dead.
R.I.P.
And so even that, these guys who went, they're all bragging about it. And at one point, you do have this thing like falling down. Now Matt is jumping around on just falling crazy, blocks of stone.
Yeah, he's at top acrobatic level.
Yeah, this is way beyond. This is weird. Like, this is Spider-Man shit. You'd have webs going, but he's, getting out. And then he says, I keep hearing this heartbeat, and you realize it's Cap's heartbeat, and then it flatlines. So you end up where it's funny that it flatlines and you see a visual, even though it would just be you don't hear anything anymore, but he's there. Oh no, my friend, I should have saved you, and I can't really get any sort of emotions from it.
It'd be funny if he was like, at least I got my powers back.
Yeah, he's like, hey, Cap, screw
Worked
you.
out for me.
He's like, whatever. So yeah, he ends up in these guys then with the shield. They're all happy with themselves, and they're going to go off to whoever their boss is, and that's where you end up where Matt, in what is supposed to be shit talk because he's blind, says, I see you. That's not good. They're not going to get that, but he yells, I see you, and throws and hits a guy with a rock. And then the rest of them open up fire. I'm like, Jesus, look at him. Look at him jumping around. He's like Mario. Mm-hmm. We're playing freaking Mario Brothers or more Mario deal. But you end up where they go off and he's chasing it. I don't want to go too long because, again, I didn't like this. And it just feels like I'm just like, and then this happens. And then, because I don't get what's going on in this book. And I get what's going on in the book. It's a future deal, post-apocalyptic war type deal. I don't know why I would like it, because I don't. There's no hook for me. I'm not like, oh man, I want to see old ass Daredevil some more.
It's like old man Hawkeye or old man Wolverine.
But it's in that, I think that the fun play of that is that you have the wasteland, you have that sort of thing, that then you have different versions, and you have the Hulk, kids, and that was always kind of cool because it was something different. It even felt like Western. This being in the city and things that just, I don't know. It just feels like I'm miserable. Like I want to say that
I think Steve McNiven did that old man Wolverine. Logan thing at the first run.
Yeah, so I like that being like a different thing. This is just, hey, what if it was years later in New York, and then we'll slowly reveal what happened in there, but it just doesn't really go. And then you end up where these guys take the shield back to their boss, but their boss looks like just about every other old guy, and you do have some weird tells, and maybe it's the man. I don't know. I keep looking.
He's jabbing himself with
he's jabbing
like
himself
a needle or something.
And so that kind of gives you the idea, and he even has like what would look like Asian, like mystic kind of. I don't know. It looks like it's more radiation, but he's using
But he doesn't have the tattoo on the head like Bullseye sometimes does.
And I don't know who it is. And it might be somebody so easy that we should know that it's Red Skull and he's just old. Or I don't know, because it doesn't look like
this
that.
guy looks
right?
Decrepit and disgusting. Yeah.
And so at one point then, he even
Somebody needs
goes,
to cut his fingernails.
Yeah, really. Well, he's got those things, he's doing a little acupuncture, but he's also wanting to make sweet love to that shield. Is it Strucker? I don't know. I don't know.
It could be something like that.
Something like that, but I thought there'd be more of a tell. Again, I'm guessing that people are, what are you, an idiot? It's this guy. I didn't get it. And so he's there with the shield. He's also talking to himself at one point, but then we see as Matt goes back and opens up his little chest there where he has his outfit and his nunchucks, or he's like, okay, I'm ready to go. You have this guy making sweet love to the shield, but then takes it to show. And this feels like at points when the cannibals had Wolverine.
Yeah,
slicing off, when they were
off pieces.
Slicing off pieces, because you end up where it's Frank Castle, it seems, who is on the wall, doesn't have hands or legs. He's got like electrodes and shit going in. It's awful. It looks awful. He has and at least he has kind of the Punisher logo. Then they call him Frank. I'm waiting for screw you, blankety blank. And then I'm like, oh, it's him. But yeah, he just looks like hell.
That is a really, I haven't seen that before. You chop somebody's arms and legs off and then you hang them up on a wall.
Yeah, on a harness. It's just
it's
hanging
like
there.
Metallica 1.
It's like what you do is you put him on the wall and call him Art.
You just keep him alive with like intravenous stuff.
You can put him outside the door and call him Matt. See,
there you
go all day. But yeah, it's Punisher. He says, hey, Frank, you used to like this guy. You used to think that cap was pretty cool, right? Well, he's dead. Ha ha. And I have his shield. Look at that. Want to hold it? I guess you can't. You don't have arms. That's my impersonation. And then ends up just like, hey, Captain America is dead. Killed in action. Oh, these are great. Oh, my God. Isn't this the greatest place ever? And it's like, I'm fucking tired. He's like, you miss the old days, don't you, Castle? He's like, yeah, I do, when I had arms and legs. Like the idea that he's like, I'll even go back and have my family dead. I just want arms and legs and maybe some hair. He looks like hell.
They're so old. They look like vampires almost that haven't eaten in like 5 years.
Irradiated. You do have what seems to be like some crazy things. Plus, you do have all of the really bad tools that it looks like he's been using on Frank. But maybe they think he is. They're like, keep flaying him, but he doesn't have a healing factor, so it doesn't work. But yeah,
he's even got some kind of electrical stuff hooked up to him,
I said
too.
It looks like he's got if you end up where you hear a ring, he's actually got like the mobile service in him as well.
You know where they're connected? It's connected to his nuts.
His nuts. He's got a deal. It's really bad. That's the deal. You ring the nuts and then answer like, oh no, it's for you. It's on your end. Yes.
This cod piece.
I thought that one of the things is funny because you end up where they cut his arms off. It's hilarious, right? Mm-hmm. Where they stitch it up, it does look like Frankencastle stuff too. So I was giggling, but
hey, maybe that's a good. Maybe they'll bring him back, like Frankencastle.
I don't think that this guy wants him back. This guy's just a monstrosity.
But you never know.
Shit stuck in him all over there. Those electrodes.
Look at all that crap that's on behind.
That's what I'm saying. That's all on the wall. The things, like all the they've been like throwing things. I don't know. Maybe that's him pooping. I mean, you got to do it somehow.
It kind of reminds me of that Dark Patterns, whatever that guy was.
The Wound Man.
The Wound Man,
kind of
looks like that,
Wounded
doesn't it?
Man.
Yeah,
He's still got they should probably cut that little bit of hair. Look at him.
Yeah, just shave him down.
He is awful. But at least he has.
He's in pretty good shape, though. He's ripped.
Yeah, he's ripped. But he's
no body fat.
Also got shit stuck to his testicles. So I think I wouldn't want that. But yeah, and then you go back and you see Matt's jumping around. He's jumping around.
Like a 20-year-old Daredevil.
To be continued. I'm sure that he'll go find Jessica Drew. Maybe we'll get Luke Cage. At first, I
think
it
was Jessica Jones.
Jessica Jones, I'm sorry. I thought that it was actually Luke Cage was going to be in the subway because of just New York and stuff like that, but it was Cap. Again, I don't know what's going on. I have no idea. And it looks cool, but it's not really my thing. It's very depressing. I'm getting old myself. I don't need to see these assholes being old and hung on a wall. So what would you give this at the end?
I mean, it was unexpected. Had no idea this was coming out. It's Charles Soule's triumphant return to Daredevil, I guess. 6-7 years in the making. I'd give this one a 6.5.
I've not heard a lot of great things about Charles Soule's deal. I'm going to give it a 6.
Yeah,
I'll give it a 6. The art's interesting. It's just not my thing, and it's very gritty.
Yeah, you don't like that.
Yeah, and it ends up where, the colors kind of pop, but it kind of looks old school because it's Steve McNiven. So it looks okay, but I don't know what's going on. And it's, again, people can say, well, you're an idiot, or of course you don't. There has to be something in an issue that's going to make me want to go. I said this actually about Martian Manhunter, Absolute Martian Manhunter. By the end, I don't like a book that the twist at the end to keep me going, the hook is, I don't know what the hell's going on, so I'll get another issue and hope that we get that. Because I'm not interested in the scenario of a post-apocalyptic thing with this enemy and things like that. It's just, it's not my thing.
It's a lot
now.
of setup for only 3 issues, and then it's over, and you're like, whatever.
It's just not my thing. And we tried to get into the or Spider-Man Reign 2. We had to bail on that. Same kind of deal. It just didn't feel like it had a hook for me, and this doesn't. So we gave it a shot. But yeah, people might like it more. People might like it less. I think this is going to be one of those that just falls in the cracks. That old school people who like Steve McNiven will probably get it and get a kick out of it.
It'll be a nice collected thing that
I
people
think
buy.
that's what it'll be, something like that. I don't think it's going to be a big hit, but I think some certain people will get a kick out of it.
And I would say that the timing is probably due to the TV show, if I had to guess.
Yeah, and again, something that's been hanging around a lot, though. The idea of saying, hey, like why they say that they've been kind of dicking around with it since 2019. Why? Why haven't they done it? And why I think this might have been like, yeah, let's shelve this and whatever. They're going to pay us because of the Daredevil show. Let's do it now.
Yeah, I mean, the show is pretty popular right now.
So I think that they just want all the Daredevil stuff they can get. And old Ralph Macchio, he only does the movie stuff. I'm shocked that we don't have some weird ass thing from him. With the
we got Fantastic Four coming out.
Yeah,
we got
I'm just
Thunderbolts.
He's like, oh man, it's all coming up for Ralphie boy because he ends up where they'll let him do something because there's a TV show, not just a movie. Those books.
Well, I guess Marvel didn't get the memo because all they do is put Deadpool books out. So,
they get the memo. It's just months late. Like the idea that we're still getting Wolverine and Deadpool.
I think there was
books.
4 Deadpool books in the past 2 weeks, or maybe 5.
Holy, and everybody's like, anybody I
6?
talk to, when you say, "Oh, did you read?" Like, I didn't know which one that was. I'm like, well, you got to pick between 9 and go there, and then you have the Cody Ziegler, where I hear nobody at all talking about the main run at all. So. I still hear some people talking a little bit about Miles, but not much there either. And the big thing Cody Ziegler's going to be working on the next, that lead into event thing in the Ultimate Universe, and that has to be a mistake. No. So we're going to get Ultimate Miles Morales or something. But we'll see. We'll see how all of that goes. But with all that, there's 2 books me and you are dealing with. We're going to go off, hopefully, for me and Sully. There's a couple things that Sully I saw that he likes this week, so we'll probably talk about one or two.
You do have an
of
Ultimate X-Men book coming out.
Oh, yeah,
too.
I always forget that. Me and Jason will be talking about Ultimate X-Men. That'll be next. And then we'll see if me and Sully are doing things, because, Jason got a hold of me and said, didn't say anything about the sound bites, but he ended up saying that the Ultimate X-Men, we're going to record that tomorrow as we're talking now.
Nice.
So we'll do that, see how that is. We've been kind of down on it, so I hope it kind of gets a little pick-me-up. Hopefully something happens.
It just came out 2 weeks ago or a week ago.
Yeah,
so.
It's very quick. I guess they're trying to get some timing things in. I don't know, but we'll see. We'll see, but we'll go to that right about now. And I'm here with Jason. What up, Jason?
Hey, Jim. Good to be back.
Yes, here we are. Ultimate X-Men. It's as if, well, actually, it's a weird play. You actually said the idea that in the book, because I said, man, this month. You said, oh, no. It actually says in the book that it's been 2 weeks since the book last came out. So that is weird, isn't it? That is odd.
Just the way the schedule works, sometimes this happens like that, where a book comes out right on the heels of the last one.
And in the book, they say that 2 weeks has passed since the last issue. So it really, I don't know. That's pretty wacky how it works out. But we are here, obviously, to talk about Ultimate X-Men. And it is written by Peach Momoko, art by Peach Momoko. And I always... is it Zach Davidson? I'm trying to think off the top of my head.
No middle D.
Okay, yep. Davison. They have the credits in the back. It always drives me nuts. So Zach, at least I remembered his name. Yeah. Oh my goodness!
Yeah,
that is impressive for me. BC's Travis Lanham on letters,
and there's one word in this comic that I am sure he wrote. We'll get to that.
Yeah. So we'll be doing that, and also at the end, you actually have theme songs written for the characters, which is kind of a different play. that they've had, which is kind of a neat little deal. I don't know. I don't see any new jeans or Blackpink, so I'm a little upset.
I did listen to a couple of them last night when I opened this up. Yeah, nothing that was really my speed, but maybe
are they
it's
instrumental or are they
they were sung.
They're probably see again. I mentioned K-pop stuff. I would assume that might be a J-pop or just regular Japanese songs or whatnot. The people in the know what I'm talking about, Jason. Mm. And also, I shouldn't say New Jeans because they've had to rebrand themselves. Now they're just New Jeans. They actually go by initials now. Some things that nobody probably cares about. Yeah, they have to sue their company and get out of there. But here we are with the Ultimate X-Men. And it's another weird issue. I had already gotten Gray got a hold of me and said he has no idea what's going on. I had Sully already get a hold of me and said that there's still no strong men. I said to him,
really?
Back that's what he said. And I'm like, I don't know, Kugiyama, he seems kind of strong. He's like, no, he just, I don't know why he's that hung up on a book that's all a bunch of schoolgirls.
I was arguing with him on Twitter a little while back too. I knew it was him. I don't think he knew that I was, related to the podcasting. He probably thought it was just some,
you go by different names, right?
I'm sneaky that way, yeah.
Yes, you are. I'll have to ask him if he remembers arguing with you. But yeah, the idea.
I got the feeling he does that a lot, so maybe doesn't remember.
I told him at one point, I said, well, there's a lot of young girls in it. I don't know if I want any strong men anywhere near them, but you do end up having Maestro. He's at least creepy. But in this, it's going to continue. We're going to jump into this, and it's going to continue the Bacta tank stuff. And we do end up finding out they're on the astral plane. That's about it. Yeah, that's it, right?
So we open outside of the astral plane, and we got Maestro tapping on the computer, taking notes on what's happening in the Bacta tanks there. And we get Viper there as well, watching over, making sure he's doing his thing. We learn a couple important things. We learn that there's something called the MY-X project, My X project, and that Viper thinks that these kids might be the key to that project, whatever the hell that means. We learn that Maestro says the words astral plane, saying Hisako's emotions are intensifying on the astral plane. So is that where these fights are happening? Is it not just of the mind? Is astral plane and of the mind, is those the same thing now?
Is that the same thing?
I don't know.
And again, when we're going through this, you don't really get if that's, if the others know. It just seems like it's a, simulation type thing. But on their astral plane, also saying that they're syncing. But Kageyama actually was synced with Hisako before that he kind of liked her. There's a lot of stuff being thrown around, but it really doesn't mean much. And this whole idea of the MY-X, we'll just go with the culmination of our goals. And here we go. In the meantime, we already know, like, May is trying to gather up the children of the atom and, like, to strike out and do good with them. You end up a lot of stuff going on, but not enough going on because of this astral plane and of the mind, because we go back to that. And we do see other characters in here, but it's just what is it doing?
15 pages. 15 pages of this comic is back in the of the mind astral plane inside the Bacta tank, whatever you want to say, and it's really duplicative of that whole previous issue. I don't know why we needed 2 issues of this.
Yeah, and it's why? Because you got it. If they had this at the beginning, just at the beginning, said, okay, yeah, we're getting in sync, we'll keep doing this, and the end Viper says, listen. Their EGs, they're going up. You got to make sure they could die. You're sending, I guess, some tension in it. I wanted them to say, well, the astral plane, if you die in the astral plane, you die in real life. Like, I need those rules being set up, but ends up saying if they die, you're dead. You're like, you're going to be taken care of. Like, you cannot let them die. This is this big thing, but we don't know what it is. I still think it looks great. It's just, we have said it before. And I said before we started, a lot of people are coming out of the woodwork, it seems now, to actually be proud that they like this book. I think it's gone to a point where if you're still reading it, you like it, obviously. And I think more people than what people would imagine do really like it. But I think it's liking it in the way of Peach Momoko's art is number one. I think it's also
Which
cool
is
to
still
like
really
it's
fun
great.
to look at.
And I think it's cool to like a quirky book as well. So I think people are kind of, hey, you know, I'm sticking with this. I still like it. Though some people have mentioned that Peach Momoko has never really done this many things in a row. And there's no fill-in, nothing. And we talked about some people saying, I think she said something about ending. But if it ends, it ends. At Peach Momoko, I can't even see having a fill-in artist.
Well,
because of how much she
if
is
she were
the book.
to leave the book and they wanted to continue something called Ultimate X-Men, it would have to be entirely different, right? It would not be continuing the story, maybe using some of the same characters, but she'd have to wrap up her story, and then we'd need another, like basically another volume of someone telling another story about mutants in this universe.
Like maybe you go with like Astonish. I don't know. I don't know what you would do, but if she ends, that's like kind of like the whole thing goes down. Like I can't even imagine like us. We would continue, but it'd be a shame because I do like the art. But maybe I hate to say that maybe we'd get more story. But I think she's also maybe struggling with the idea of month to month and how she can tell the story that she wants to tell. And maybe we're saying she's trying to rush it. Maybe she has this thing set up, and if she's ending, she has to like bide her time a bit. I don't know, because it's odd to go back in this astral plane deal again.
It feels like she didn't want to move the story forward, so she redid last issue and then just like a little epilogue of a couple other scenes outside this of the mind astral plane world, but not much.
But we do get Akihiro in the astral plane. We'll just call it the astral plane. Sure. But he's there, and you even have this play where, you know, Kageyama says, "Oh, I'm glad you can join us." So in this, when we find out, okay, astral plane, whatever, all I could keep wondering is, okay, who's guiding this? Is it Maestro?
Right.
Is it them? Is it, is it actually Hisako?
Because I keep trying to think, if this is Hisako's mind, would she know about Akihiro?
That's what I'm saying. I don't think she would. So that's why I think
now we know
that
Kageyama found him, right? Isn't that who found him?
Yep, he was there, and that was where he was feeding blood back and forth and whatever when he was in the hospital.
Doing the Weapon X kind of stuff.
Yeah, the Weapon X stuff. So I think this might be, Maestro, he's there and he's, doing his tap, 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 and as you said, but I thought he was just checking on.
That could be injecting things into the dream.
But how do you do that? But that's what it seems. And in that, though, you have the look of it, like how Kageyama saw him. Like he's almost still hooked up to the machinery and stuff like this. It's not like he's walking around. He still has all those tubes coming out of his mouth.
He's on the X crucifix, like it's been, a very famous X-Men art motif for years.
Yeah. And then
we just saw it recently in the regular X books.
And then he opens up, and what we have, it's almost like when you had that body horror of the Hulk.
Yeah, it's a
when
cocoon
you had Banner
sort of a thing.
Oh, it's disgusting. And Surge is there. Like, what is going on here?
Surge, who looks like a Dan character now.
Yeah, it does. Really does look like a Dan.
This is the limited colors, so she's drawn in black and white, and she has a two little antenna like that alien girl whose name I forget.
Yeah,
and that alien girl lives most of the time in the kaiju suit too. So her coming out of a suit is just like Dan.
Yeah, it is. And she comes out. I like her bow tie. But she comes out and she's, hey, Maystorm, ready, round. So again, what does this mean?
Yeah,
and what's
this is
going
just
on and what's
redoing that
happening?
fight between her and May, but then did Hisako know about that? Did Kageyama know about that? Why are we replaying this?
And did Maestro know about that, right? I mean, that's such a personal thing.
Is this actually somehow tying in, reaching out to the real world people outside here?
And grabbing their thoughts?
But then we see them and there's no apparent effect.
Don't think. That's what I'm saying.
So I was trying to see, was there psychic attacks going on these people that we see them affect in the real world? But no.
I mean, what I expected. It is cool, though. As she's coming out, she still has, like, the clawed hands, and she's kind of getting
she's bursting out of his body.
Yeah, she's bursting out, yeah. It's weird.
But bits of it are still stuck to her.
I'll tell you, what I thought we were going to have is the idea of, hey, May Storm, ready for round 2, and then all of a sudden we'll cut, and you'll see May in bed, sleeping at night, like tossing and turning, and then you'd see Surge, like, she's
right.
You didn't get that. I also want to know the sus Kageyama's mother. Remember that? Like all these things from the past, like because of the way this goes. But boy, it looks cool. But we're trying to get
Yeah,
the basis
these-
of what is happening and who's setting it up, and it's
These
weird.
little superhero moves that Maystorm is using here are kind of cool, kind of neat. They're all flower based. Hanakaze is flower wind, and another one is Hana Fubuki, which is flower blizzard, like blossoms, cherry blossoms blowing around. And and this is where the word that I'm sure was Zach Davison's insert here. She does the Hana Fubuki to kind of camouflage herself in flying petals, and then she lands a Hana Fubu kick.
Yeah.
That was Zach Davis, and I would bet $1,000.
And it looks cool. And ends
It
up, and I
does.
do like the
But it's
progression of this.
meaningless.
Yeah, it is. And but I like the flower, deal. I like the way that that's giving May a bit of a different feel, whatever. But again, is it real? Is it something she actually? Because we're in the mind, and
It's
I
a
don't think
video
she's
game, as
there.
far as I know.
That's what it feels like. It feels like you're just
Some
playing a video
nightmare
game
dream
on
video
there.
game.
And so while that's going on and kind of rips off the claws of Surge, and then she says, "Hey, you're not going to stop me. You ended up having to save me before, but that's not going to happen now. I'm building up a charge." And that's where you then go to the sides then and have Nico yelling, "Hey, we need to stop this. It's the headband." She sees, and even then, very much not like the real character in the deal, and very video game-esque. It's a boss, and you have to figure out, oh, it's the headband, and go for that. And it's weird, right? Natsu is there thinking she has the dead body still of Mori because of that suit.
Now
the
it's
suitcase,
Surge who's chopped up like a dead body, as a dead body.
Because they take Surge down. They knock the steel up, and then these guys
the
just come
cultists
out.
come in. The
And
cultists
they're
in
like, who are
hazmat
them?
suits
Like,
chop
what is
her up.
going on in this? It's such a weird nightmare that you're expecting. Like you said, here's the thing. I guess maybe, I don't know, because I was just going to say, if you combine them in the astral plane, Izuko and Kageyama, maybe, but they wouldn't have known that Surge and May had that fight. I don't think either of them were there, right? Because, so that's something different.
They could have been told about it afterwards.
Maybe. Because you could combine their two things and say, okay, well,
because Surge
Kageyama
needed
knows
like
this
medical attention afterwards because she shorted herself out.
Maybe it was the idea in between. Remember, that was the point where Kageyama was hanging out a bit with Surge, but then couldn't find. It's so weird, but they come and chop up Surge, just chop her up, and just it's bad. They're like hauling her away in the meat case. Then you end up where Izuko, and she's like our main character, and she's barely in. All of a sudden, then she shows up and grabs May and starts yelling about those masks and the idea that they were
kind of interesting.
Yeah, that was
we saw these
connecting.
masks show up at the cult facility, right? Because Meister opened them, and we didn't know what the hell they meant. Now here, Hisako here is saying that the masks were sent as a message of hate. The idea that, you should be ashamed of who you are, you should cover up.
It makes more
with a
sense
mask.
now. Yep, it makes sense.
I did not get that
and
at
remember,
all.
May broke in and grabbed
around.
the one. Then she put the X on, and that kind of does. See, that's the part I do like, because it does go with the idea even later where May, she's taken it to the streets. That's supposed to be us that we're supposed to say, you should be ashamed of yourself. And she's like, no, we're going to be X-Men. I'm putting them on, and we're going to gather up, and we're going to do things. So she doesn't seem bad. She wants to turn this children of the atom and get some of those people seemingly to be good, I guess, but it's weird, or at least just to go against the cult part of it. But I don't know. The masks are okay, and then that's the thing where and now again, is this?
I wonder if Peach Momoko put this part in because nobody got it the first time. It's been long enough. I don't know what the lead time of the comic is, but it must be that, nobody got it. I'm going to explain it.
There
now.
was a
That's
weird thing. Like, there was like a little note, and I can't remember what it said, but we didn't get the idea of it being like, hey, you ugly mutants, put these on. Right. I do like this.
It's like putting like a stick of deodorant on the stinky kid's desk.
Or like a paper bag. We're awful. You end up where then you have May, you have that X behind her, and then she says, hey, you're not going to stop us. I don't care. These masks are now a symbol of what we want to be, and we're the X-Men. And then just stops and looks really upset, and her mask is cracked open, and she says, did you forget? Hi, Chin, you're an X-Man too. and then you have all the characters like looking there. But why would they be doing, like, if it's Meister there and he's like, type. Okay, now have May try to convince her. It's a weird play.
Maybe this is part of, like, in the back of Hisako's own mind.
That's what I think it might be.
That's all I can mean.
Like trying to fight back with the idea, these are my friends, and I'm an X-Men, but you're not getting a clear play.
And then now we get something truly wacky. We get a very, like, children's simplified but giant-sized drawing of Tsubasa, the dead friend who kind of instigated all of the events before this actually started. He's drawn with wings like an angel, and he's super happy about this.
Oh, he's super happy about it.
For a kid who was never happy in life, he's super happy here.
He's got a noose still around his neck. I'm like,
oh yeah, he does. I thought that was like a gold chain, but no. That is
he ain't Mike D from the Beastie Boys. And I'm telling you, like, where's the play there?
Mr. T, yeah.
Where's the deal? Because again, it's such a weird play. Exactly. What are you doing to try to get Hizuko, when you see him, if it was like, look, he's happy. Look at these, but you still have the noose there that she's going to see. And it's like such weird things back and forth.
He's happy, he says, thanks for using the Omamori, Hisako. So he's happy that she's using this armor power that he's somehow connected to. We still don't even know if he was a mutant. And then we get once again a repeat of the scene where she denied owning that Omamori, where people were making fun of it. Oh, we found this on the floor. Isn't it stupid and dumb and ugly? Is it yours? Not mine.
I thought there was going to be a switch.
Again.
I thought there was going to be something. It's in the astral plane. I thought this was going to be something where we found something new or of the mind. Like, they are seemingly trying to get Kageyama and Hizuko to kind of sync. And I guess for her to be bad,
it's just a rerun of last issue.
I thought there was going to be something like Tsubasa didn't die or said this, whatever. All you find out different in my mind is that she lost it. It bounced behind a machine, the vending machine, and then these kids found it and then threw it at him.
We get some more details filled in, but not much. Details.
Yeah. I thought at this point they were going to say, hey, is this yours? Hizuko? And that one girl goes, it can't be hers. And I thought she was going to go, oh, yeah, it is mine, and take it. And then all of a sudden the bell rings, and he already has his wings. But then the idea of thank you, you've completed this. But she doesn't do it. It's the same thing again. It actually ends up being the same thing. And it just felt weird. Like, where are we going to get this progression? Then the Omamori starts coming out like an egg out of her. What's in the egg?
What's in the egg?
Comes out of her mouth. I don't have it here. I have to load up. And then all of a sudden it's just shadow goop. And then boom, she seems to wake up. And
then we cut away from this scene. I don't know if we'll be back in the Bacta tank again next issue, but we cut away for just a little bit in the real world. And it does say Iridori High School, first day of the new school year. And it does seem to be common in Japanese schools that the beginning of April is the beginning of the new school year. You move to a new grade. So you move to a new grade in April, not in September.
Right? Yeah, it's kind of odd.
I think there are some schools that have moved to like a Western American style September kind of calendar.
I say it's odd, but it really isn't if you go to school different times and whatnot, and the idea of the different seasons and whatnot. So
it is weird in that their long break, their summer break, is in the middle of a school year and not separating grades. That's the only your break between grades is relatively short.
Yeah. So when you have this, you're expecting Nico Mori are walking. You're expecting to be like, man, I had a crazy dream. You were in a meat case.
Right.
And nothing. No. They're like, oh, Nico, it's so stupid. We're not in the like a regular day.
Like you're starting off a chapter 1 of a new slice of life kids in a high school story.
Yeah, Maury's upset because she's not in the same class as Nico. And she's like, that sucks. And then they end up where, hey, did you bring the masks? So you have these masks and they put them on, or they're going to go because they're going to go to a meeting. Right. And you just have a bunch of different things. All of a sudden you have the, what is her name? Yukio, who is the online girl.
A one-page return to Yukio.
Like, this stuff actually is okay, but why did you waste all that other time? I guess people, it's not wasting, but I thought it was.
The news here from Yukio is we know that she had streamed some video of the meeting between May and the cultists, and maybe of when the shadow came out. And her friend then said, "Oh, you better be careful. The government might disappear for this." And we find out the government, or somebody, probably the government, came in and trashed her, not just ransacked, trashed her house, apartment. So I guess she's old enough living on her own. I thought she was a kid living with parents, but I guess she's a relatively
weird
young
plays
grad.
in some of those. How many, like, maybe she, like a certain animes and manga, she's living with a homeless guy or something. I've seen many a times where it's like something like that, or she's living with a
I don't
cat
think she's going
who's
to
actually a
school.
space god. No, it doesn't look like she's going to school. But she goes in and again, she's like, I'm thinking like, these are, like you said, the big guy. It could even be Viper and crew. And she's like, bring it on. I'm like, you don't want to say that. Like you're in trouble. But
Yeah, she's not intimidated.
Yeah, she's
That's
hyped.
all we get from this.
And I do like her, like little lackey. Hey, boss, what's going on? She's like, bring it on. Because, yeah, everything's gone, whatever. And it's like, oh, they really trashed us. Bring it on. And we'll see where that goes. But then we go off to the, pseudo alt meeting of the Children of the Atom, and you get some cool masks.
And it seems that May's been having these meetings with the Children of the Atom kids, but she hasn't been inviting Nico and Mori. So Nico and Mori have to kind of find out about it, get their own masks, and kind of sneak in the back, because they're talking here about what's going on. And May's big thing is, she wants the world to know that not all mutants are like the cult. Like, those are the only mutants that the public, at least in Japan or whatever this Japanese place is called now, I forget the name.
The deal, yeah. And
something, yeah.
That makes sense. I mean, she finds out that she's a mutant, and then the only mutants that are on TV are these awful, like they're really painting them as being awful. And that is what kind of happens. You end up where certain people, whatever it would be, somebody does something bad, and you think, everybody's like that. So she wants to get the word out. But I don't know that people are ready to hear the word, because people seem pretty hateful, as they always are. But they do start mentioning stuff in, like, some of the things that we have talked about. This is where you get that astral plane, but you also get Nico there.
It's weird that the words astral plane also happen to come up here. It feels too coincidental, like Peach Momoko just thought it up, and so she's putting it in the mouths of all these different characters who aren't talking to each other, because it's... First, we find out, to get there in order, I guess, is that Nico and Mori talk to May at the end of the meeting, and she doesn't recognize them in their masks. They have to kind of say, hey, May, it's us. And then Nico says, in my grandmother's notebook, there's more after the Testament of X. It happens to talk about the astral
plane. And hey, do you think that that's what they use? And you think, it's a kind of a play. I think she's playing the idea of even like, what happened with Hisako and Tsubasa when they end up saying, hey, aren't you worried about Hisako? They go up and they say, listen, I thought there was going to be a weird play that it wasn't May, the way they were going, like, we know it's you, May. But then when you see the back in her hair, so you know it's her. We know it's you. Like, we've been looking for Hisako. Have you been? Because we thought, and then you end up, what? You mean hashtag armor girl? You're friends with her. And it almost felt like Tsubasa played.
That's canon.
Like, yeah, it's canon. It's Psylocke.
It took me a couple of readings to realize that's what it is.
I didn't realize it either.
But she's wearing that martial arts outfit with the characters on her legs.
Yeah. Yep, it's her. So she says, what? You're friends with that hashtag armor girl? And I thought it was going to be that play like Sabato. No. I don't know what you're talking about. And then you'd have that all again, whatever.
Parallel, at least.
Yeah, she just looks and she's like, and that's when you have, Nico. Well, do you think that she might, like, all of a sudden it's like jump to a conclusion about this?
That's exactly what it says in my notes. She knows exactly what's going on. She says, since Hisako disappeared, and I guess Kageyama disappeared at the same time, they haven't seen that eye again. They saw that weird swirly cloud eye several times, haven't seen it since, and she jumps to the basically correct conclusion that it has to do with the astral plane and that Kageyama's shadow took Hisako. Which is a wacky conclusion to jump to.
It's such a crazy thing to come up with, but like, okay. And they're talking about at least they're referencing that deal. And so the end, it's the second half or whatever, 7 pages or whatever. It's pretty good. At least they're going to something. Yeah, you jump to conclusions, but you're going somewhere. And I'm like, okay, we just didn't need to repeat Tsubasa thing and the whole of the mind. We kind of got enough of that, I thought.
We got a whole issue of that last time.
Yeah.
And having it be one whole issue, I thought that was kind of neat because you got the reveal at the end of what was really going on, kind of reframe everything, makes you want to go back and reread it now that you know what's up. But we got that.
Yeah. And
we don't need to do it again.
And so when you get to this issue, I thought, oh, man, this is cool because usually me and you keep saying, like, you get to the next issue and it's a month later or so, and they don't even reference things. You actually have Meister's there at the control, so I'm like, that's really cool to show at the beginning of the next issue, and they've still been in there 2 more weeks, so you're like, oh, man, like, that's crazy. I hope they get her out. And then we jump back in. I'm like, we didn't need to. We know what it is. You can still have the scene of, hey, they're sinking, this and that. You didn't have to go back in.
What's going on in, like, Hisako's family? She's been missing for at least 2 weeks. Are the police involved? Did the government cover it up?
Yeah.
I don't know. We do have that one final, I don't even know if we want to call it a scene, half a page, 4
like
panels.
A weird thing at the end, like an epilogue kind of deal.
Epilogue, which has some interesting kind of stuff in it. You see this woman walking into a cafe. She's got long brown hair. And then you see a guy eating or drinking an ice cream soda. I think it's a melon soda. They like that kind of thing in Japan.
Yep. That's what it looks
and
like.
That appears to be Cannon's brother, the cop who disappeared several issues ago after the body was found.
Yeah.
Was told, you did not see a body, and then he kind of just up and gone.
Yeah,
right.
So
but
what is
then
this?
We see one more panel of the face of that woman who walked in, who's looking at him. We don't know what their connection is. She's wearing glasses. She's got long brown hair with like white highlights surrounding her face.
Yeah. So it looks like it would be Rogue.
It resembles Rogue.
And the weird play is, I mean, I don't know. I was even going with, well, sometimes she wears green and you're drinking a melon. Yeah. I'm telling you, I'm like, I don't know what any of
She's
this means.
She's got kind of a green shirt on, pale green, I guess you could say.
Yeah, and it's weird because you ended up sending me a thing and said, who do you think are we supposed to know what this is? And I'm like, well, first off, it looks like a little like Gail Simone. But in the meantime, I thought like, well, it looks like it would be Rogue because of the hair at the front. So I look up and I just thought, well, maybe somebody's got the issue at a time, something. So I look up 6160 Ultimate X-Men Rogue, and then it pops up that somehow they say that Rogue was she was on a cover at one point, but this looks a little older than that. This looks like a woman, not a girl. And that's what throws me off of all that. And again, if you're going to play the game, some people would say, well, it can't be Rogue because the actual Rogue is in the Ultimate. Well, that it doesn't matter with this book. You know, you end up where you have May Storm, this kind of stuff. So I don't know. Now if she ends up like touching him and he starts withering away, I don't know how you're going to reveal, or if she tells who she is or whatnot. But if she says, "Hey, sugar," then I'm in. Then I'm like, oh, I'm right. But I kind of think she won't. Maybe she'll like, "Hey, I want a drink, extra sugar." I don't know. It was just weird. And at the end, usually you would like to have like she walks in and announces herself. Hey, pleased to meet you. Are you this? It looks like he's like.
But I'm okay with this as a final scene, just kind of hinting at things to come. I'd be more okay with it if I felt like I got an issue's worth of content before it. And I don't feel that way.
And I wonder, like, he is kind of on the run a bit, or whatever he's doing. And he seems like it's one of those.
It's nice to see that he's still around, that the book isn't forgetting about him. We're going to check in on him.
There's a strong man. I got to get a hold of Sully.
I don't know. Strong enough to run away when he's told to run away.
Strong enough to run away from a meat suitcase. I mean, it was his sister that screwed him over, but still. It's weird. It's weird, but he's still alive, and she seems surprised to see him. Like he's drinking this, and she's like almost like, oh. Like, you're here? I don't know. She has a weird look at her face.
It's weird because when you Google it, there are like wiki pages that talk about Rogue doing things in this Ultimate Universe.
An issue.
And if it happened, I freaking missed it. And
you went back
the issue which says it happens, I just scanned through.
Yeah.
And at least in the 30 seconds I took the scan through, I didn't see anything about her. So
we'll have to see.
Maybe somebody said something wrong on the internet and then everybody else copied the same thing.
Yeah,
or I'm just missing it.
I think they're just set up for like is it Grinder? Well, what's the one? Whatever the
you're outside of my understanding.
Yeah, I think that's the other one. You end up where they're, a little hookup, and he's like, "You catfish me." That'll be the deal. And she's like, "No, I didn't, sugar." And then he starts throwing.
Rogue loves catfish. There you go.
Suddenly, he's going to be Gambit. We're going to get a lot of crazy stuff going on. So we'll have to see what's happening. Yeah, she would like catfish. That is true.
What is the Japanese version of New Orleans? I don't know. Osaka? I couldn't tell you.
Well, I'll have to ask Gray with that. He'd probably say there is none. Okay, there you go. Well, it's always a festival in Japan everywhere, so why not? You have all those festivals over there. But what would you give this?
Oh, it's going to be a low score, Jim, because I feel like I didn't get much. I didn't get a whole issue. I got half of the last issue again, which was fine the first time. I don't need it again. And the new things are just kind of hinting around at stuff to come in the future. So I'm going to give this a plain old 5 out of 10. I don't feel good about it, but that's all I got.
And I know that people will get upset with us. I still like it. But that's the thing. I want to find out more. I actually want, I know it's never going to happen. I want to have that issue where everything hits, and then I could say to all these other people, like, "Oh man, now you have to read this." Yeah,
I know a lot of people have been more frustrated with this than we have, so maybe they'll say, "Finally, you got where we are. We were here first."
Maybe. I don't know. There's some super fans out there that they end up thinking if we say that we're frustrated with it, that they'll lose their minds. But don't lose your mind. It's us just wanting to know more. And
we're just two strong men talking about Ultimate X-Men. That's what we're doing.
Jim Strongman, they call me. I do like the art, though, a lot. It's weird, too, because you really liked the art last issue. When you go back into the Astral plane, I really like the art. It's just nothing. And when you get Tsubasa as that, like, really I don't even know, chibi or whatever.
Again, look at very something you'd see in a manga where there'd be this other, it's an otherworldly kind of thing. Yeah, if it had more meat behind it.
That's
the concept of the art is cool.
The concept of the art, but yeah.
If I was thinking is this really Tsubasa's spirit kind of impinging into the simulation, that could be awesome because he's really the person who kicked off the whole plot before issue number 1 started. So
much so that we see it again.
There are mysteries about him, yeah. So there's certainly some of the big mysteries here are all about him. So I want to see something from him come back into the book, but there's just no meat here, Jim.
And when you get that, you would even think that, like, she might be thinking Tsubasa wouldn't want me to do this and try to, but it doesn't feel like any sort of fight. And you don't even have, like, that would also be in my mind. Kageyama would be like, "What are you doing here?" Like he'd get jealous but nothing. It didn't really play out anything. It just seemed kind of visual and it was really messed up.
Yeah, you could really do a thing where they're the two, like, fighting for Hisako's soul, right?
It's like the devil and the angel on the shoulders. That's what it looks like.
Work out great.
Yeah, it would, and especially if at this point you ended up having
maybe
like Kageyama.
That'll happen next month.
Maybe
do we need another
when we go back
third month of this of the month?
I hope not. But Kageyama kind of getting Shadow Kinged up would kind of be devilish, and you would have that going on. It would be pretty cool looking. But we'll see. We'll see. Tsubasa looks so cute though there, and you kind of feel bad because he's dead. But yeah, it's kind of a messed up vision there. But we don't really know how that was playing, what it meant, what it does. But it is getting them all fired up in the Bacta tank, and you have to make sure, like they said, with the idea where Meister, if he lets them die, he's in big trouble. And I think that a lot of this stuff would get her really, really riled up. And that was the thing. I was also, maybe that's him trying to calm her down. Like, I'm trying to make sense of it. You know what I mean? Like, why would that be? Is that the calming influence? He types it in because they're getting too excited? I don't know. Because she's not really
what's
doing
going
much.
On here.
She's watching everything going on. And yeah, you have May Storm just say, "We're X-Men. You're an X-Men too." So we'll see how it goes. But I still don't even love the idea that Hizuko is kind of on the bad side, gone to the dark side, kind of through the book. Kind of off kilter for me. But with all that is it. I'm a 5. You're a 5.
Yeah, and the next issue of Ultimate X-Men isn't for 5 more weeks, so we get a little bit of break between issues.
Okay, so yeah, we had it really quick, and then we have a bit of a time. But like I said, people were really, commending Pichimoko for not having any breaks or anything, or not having a fill-in artist. But that's cool. The next cover looks crazy. You pretty much have dark Hizuko, but it does almost look like she's looking in from the astral plane. So we'll see what's happening.
We'll see.
But thanks for joining me, Jason.
Thank you, Jim.
All right, and we're back with a big surprise. And this week, there is a huge mystery that was finally revealed at Marvel. And that was, in fact, that Gray is going to be joining me for some books. What up, Gray?
How's it going, Jim? Did you know? Did you know that I am the all-new Venom? It's true.
You are the all-new Venom. The more positive of the Venoms that I would see, though we'll be getting to what is actually the all-new Venom in this. And I just want to give a shout out. We are probably going to expand the show a bit. We had some complaints, some suggestions, and some people saying that now that we're doing a more expanded DC show, that maybe we should pay attention over at Marvel. Now, I will point out that for Marvel, there was a reason why the Marvel podcast is listed as the Marvel Spotlight Show. It was because we weren't going to do a lot of books because there aren't that many great books. But we got some suggestions, and you jumped in and said, you do a couple books with me. It might be one a week. It might be one every other week, whatever. But I'll grab some other people and we will expand the show. It'll be a little tighter, I think, going forward. And I'll even have some news and things. This will probably all take a couple weeks to sort out. But this week, we're just going to have a ton of people on, and we'll end up talking a bunch of books because there are some other books that I stopped reading that people have told me are pretty good. And one of them will be the first book that we're talking about is Moon Knight, Fist of Khonshu. And I did, like most people, I liked the Jed MacKay Moon Knight at first. I kind of got tired of it way before most people. And then when it went through the idea that he died and then they renumbered, then he came back and renumbered, I had just bailed. I hadn't read any of this Fist of Khonshu. I made it up to like the death of Moon Knight, like 2 issues in when it was just therapy sessions with everybody. And I had enough.
Yeah.
I had enough. I bailed on it. And then once he ended up, coming back, dying, all that stuff, I was like, all right, I think I'm done. And I had been a little down on Jed MacKay anyway. So I did end up you got a hold of me and said, hey, do you want to do Moon Knight? And of course, all new Venom that we'll be talking about next. And I said, yeah, I'll catch up. I'll read the Fist of Khonshu stuff. And it's pretty good. I did have people tell me that hey, it's fun. I think this is the Jed MacKay that reminds me a little, well, it reminds me of, maybe the beginning of the Moon Knight stuff, but it also reminds me of his kind of sense of humor that he had and team building kind of thing with the Black Cat book.
Oh, this is it, Jim. We've not seen, have we, especially in X-Men and his recent work. He was doing Avengers too, wasn't he? Was it Jed MacKay? So I've missed his sense of humor. That's what kind of pulled me back in. This is fun and it's been goofy, especially this issue.
And he can be goofy in this. And
yeah,
again,
forgotten about that.
Maybe people will, be mad. I don't like to, but it's not gags type of thing, but it's goofy because of the team. You can't really be goofy with the X-Men, or you can, but you can't. It's more of a serious book. This is more of a niche book, and you're going to be goofy
X-Men. You got to do X. Is it X-Force or X Factor? Sorry, you got to be X Factor, haven't you? For that.
Is that goofy or is that just awful? You end up where in this though. I liked when 8-Ball showed up. I liked it right away.
Yeah, me too.
When he got the crap kicked out of him in that Death of a deal, when what they thought was this new Moon Knight coming back that was kind of a dupe and whatever, that I felt bad because 8-Ball's just a goofball. But in this, I think it's one of the better 8-Ball issues. Well, it is the best 8-Ball issue I've ever read because I only read like 3. But the idea that you have the goofiness of 8-Ball, but then actually show how smart he is as well, I think it was really well done. I think the 3 8-Ball. I wish there was 8 8-Ball fans out there, but I think there's 3.
I don't know the character that well. He's just like popped up here and there. I'm not a massive Moon Knight, lore expert, so don't kill me. Don't kill me with the comments. But it's just so much fun, this book, and the team he puts together, Jim.
Yeah,
we'll talk about it in a minute, won't we?
And it's 8-Ball's idea. It's pretty cool. But this is Moon Knight Fist of Khonshu number 7, Pool Party, written by Jed MacKay, art by Domenico Carbone, colors by Rachel Rosenberg, letters by VC's Corey Petit. So they need to get a hold of Hank Pym, because they need this anti-drug to go against this Glimmer.
Where's he been? Where's Hank Pym?
And it's very basic idea. Again, some of the things that I ended up not loving about the whole Moon Knight deal is the villains and the situations, but the characters were always pretty good. I always liked Reese. Soldier's kind of just there, but I do like Tigra. I do like 8-Ball, as I said. So this whole deal, and even Hunter's Moon. So you have this big cast of characters. So what he's doing almost feels like not a situational comedy, but a situational deal where we have this situation, let's have fun with it. And I'm down with that. I find that they're going to go to Nadia Van Dyne, because they pretty much think if we threaten her, and they're talking about how to get a hold of Hank won't call them back. So they end up saying, well, 8-Ball says, well, if we were villains, it'd be easy. I'm like, what do you mean? Like, well, you just, kidnap Nadia Van Dyne, and then Hank is sure to follow. They're like, that's what you would do if you wanted to get his attention as a villain. So as this is going on, you do have a really good progression, pretty humorous progression of everybody's like, yeah, that sucks. We can't do that. As 8-Ball is going around and like, all right, this will work. I like at one point, he's almost like a director, and he puts his hands up to kind of get the scene and like, yep, this is going to work, and comes up with this idea of the pool party. Now, when I first saw it, I was thinking a swimming pool. I'm like, what the? And then I realized, oh no, he's 8-Ball.
Well, that's your first thought, isn't it? When you hear pool party, you're like straight away, like, oh great, I'll get me volleyball, I'll get me beach ball and stuff like that. Well, no, wait a minute.
Yeah, skinny dipping. So I'm like, well, what's it? And you end up where I think he could have went a little more, because even have Deadpool, that's kind of a cop out in my mind for the deal, because you could have had break, just anything that you do playing. You could have had this
triangle.
How great would it be if they had a British guy on the team and just called him Snooker? That'd be awesome.
And by the way, just let me correct your pronunciation there, Joe. To be a teacher, it's snooker.
Snooker.
Oh, snooker.
I don't. Who is the? You might know. Who is the most famous? Who is the best snooker player of all time?
But Jimmy White was pretty good.
Okay, it was Jimmy White. My buddy had an Amiga computer, and we had Jimmy White snooker. We were saying it wrong all that time.
Takes me back.
It is funny that we had that computer program, and I actually played a lot of snooker. Now I'm going to just say it like that.
8-Ball's plan, like, when I was reading this comic, I was thinking, this is stupid. It's never going to work. But what I loved about this issue is, like, Jed MacKay, he puts that into the story, doesn't he? It is a stupid plan. It's bonkers.
It's a really stupid plan. But it's not so what they do is they're going to go and pretend to be villains to threaten, not kidnap, but threaten Nadia, because they say Hank is probably watching her at all times.
Yeah.
Just us going there and
he'll come in to save her, so we'll get his attention.
We'll say, whoa. The problem is that they end up saying, I think Tiger even says is, listen, Nadia, she's Red Room. We got to be careful. Like, you're going in and we're trying to make the ruse of this. She might hurt. It says 8-Ball. It's like 8-Ball's going to get hurt real bad if we don't watch out.
It's like he's not thought this through, has he? Properly.
So that's the funny. At one point, even Reese's chalk gets like kneed right in the gut. Like, she is very capable. And it's a cool play that it also shows that Nadia is capable. The idea that she doesn't need Hank to watch over, but he will. He will.
What the hell happens to
it.
the Deadpool version in this? Well, at one point, I thought he got a spear through the head.
And that's the thing. He's a vampire. So he ends up getting shot through the head.
Yeah.
And then that's why he says it wasn't silver. But it was like, all right. And again, Soldier's such a dad. I'm like, you could have made something more than Deadpool, but it was kind of cool. But I do like, as they're still, the team has moved on from this idea of, if we were villains. 8-Ball is not. He's going through. He's like, okay, you take it goes to Hunter's Moon. You take off that gold and whatever. You're pretty scary. So you end up having all these different things. And when they go in, the funniest is when they go to attack Nadia, if you pay attention, if you're reading, they're going after, quote unquote, the science. They don't even have an idea of a plan. He goes, give me all the science. And she's like, what? At one point, she gets confused. She goes, what science do you mean? And brings up this jet propulsion thing. And again, 8-Ball is as himself. So he ends up, well, I know all about that. That's where I think it was fun by the end, where they're actually working together and he's helping her with one of her jet propulsion experiment type things.
I really nice. Enjoyed that kind of turnaround. It was a really clever ruse, wasn't it, by Jed MacKay? It's like, they're almost like best buddies, aren't they, at the end?
Yeah, and he's smart.
He's impressed.
8-Ball's just an idiot who wears an 8-Ball helmet, right?
You never see his face, do you, Jim? But you can imagine he's smiling at the end, can't you?
And nobody's ever taking 8-Ball serious, and this shows... Like, I like it. I like that it showed that he was smart. But while all this is going on, Hank shows up, and it's Hank that has come back recently. A lot of ping-ponging around if you want to end up following that story. One of the big things they do reference is the Ant-Man book. and that was pretty big with it. But the whole thing with Ultron, all this stuff going. But he's there. He's bailed. He's, you know,
he was gone, wasn't he? Where was the microverse?
He's in the microverse deal, and
yeah.
The thing was weird because Moon Knight says, "Hey, you know," Mark says, "Hey, I was in the West Coast Avengers with him. We're tight, but he's not answering my calls, whatever." And then he's in this sort of thing, and it felt weird. I think that he would know about a little bit more of where Hank goes. Well, not that it means anything. It was just to bring it up. But Hank comes out and then even says, geez, Moon Knight, because Moon Knight has to come and like, whoa, everybody stop. Mark says, you got to stop. Like, and he says, if I wanted to talk to you, I would have answered your call. But again, it's all it is. It feels like such a fun thing, but all it really is can you make like a anti-drug to this drug? It's not like
there's a new street drug, isn't there,
out
there, which is kind of freaking everybody out. It's like, that's all they want. They want an antidote.
It feels like it's like that part is not that big, but it is, I guess. But the whole play then is going to be Hank and Mark talking about things, and I'll just, as a side thing, to point out the things in my life when they're talking, you end up where like, oh man, you're crazy. It's like, well, I am. I have dissociative disorder, and you're borderline. And when you have all that stuff going, that Tanya, my wife, has both of those together. I'm like, and more. So it's a shame. But when it brings up anything like that, I'm like, yeah, I know how that's all. Like the way that they're kind of commiserating.
Got your hands full there, Jim. Wow.
Yeah, she does too. It's not great. And she's been in therapy now, like this heavy therapy for like half a year now. But yeah, it's tough stuff. So when they start talking about it, I mean, that's big stuff. But in the meantime, they kind of say like, hey, we're kind of, the same. We kind of have some problems the same, because Tiger comes and says about their son, hey, listen, I've told him about you. And he's like, what? You told him about me? Like, that's messed up. Like, what did you tell him? She's like, oh, you tell him you're a hero. I tell him that you would never be a coward and you're his hero. And it's kind of a touching moment that I didn't think
that surprised me, Jim.
Did
it surprised you at the end after the kind of fun goofiness in the middle of the story? It's like, no way.
And so when they're talking, Moon Knight and Hank, they're talking about the idea, well, should I be a part of my son's deal? And he says, yeah, like you should. I have a daughter and I'm not allowed to go near her. So, you should do that. You
That's
should end
sad,
up
isn't
being
it?
part
Because of what I've done, who I am. He can't be a father to her.
I said that Hank actually has bipolar, which Tanya has as well. So all these things going, the idea of, he says we have problems, but we're working through them. And yeah, you should be a father. Your son would love you to be a father, and you have a chance to be. So why not be it? So I didn't expect to have that sort of feels in this, especially in a thing. So when you get it, this is like the kind of issue that I wish we got more of from Jed MacKay, the idea that there's some humor, but the humor is based on 8-Ball. So it's not like, oh, Moon Knight's being a goof. It's an actual plan, and it works, but it's crazy. And really, if you think about it, 8-Ball is really putting himself on the line because of, again, Nadia's might just beat the crap out of him. Maybe
that's it. At one point, Moon Knight says, isn't he, like, no one was in danger except maybe 8-Ball.
Except 8-Ball.
And
he's like, hey,
thanks a lot.
Hey. And then they go off and just seeing the smart deal with him, and the idea that Nadia then is actually like taking him seriously, even though like, hey, you're a guy with an 8-Ball helmet, but take him seriously because she sees right away, oh my God, because he points it out, you should do this. And she's like, oh my God, that'll work. That solves my problem.
Yeah, he's like, by the way, like I was a jet propulsion engineer. He's like, no way. And she's really impressed with that.
Yeah, and she's all in. It's really cool. And then you end up where, again, you have Tiger and Hank, because she says, you never got a hold of me. And he's like, listen, everybody that I've ever loved, I just end up hurting. I end up really hurting. So please just, and in more ways than one, actually. But the idea says, I just don't want to hurt anybody. I feel like I don't even have a life. I only have a mission, and all these things going. It was really good. And then at the end, Moon Knight saying, you should. He says, you have a chance to be a father to William. So here's my advice. Take it. And goes off, and it's like a nice little, like one shot almost. It feels like with
it does
Hank
work like
and
that, doesn't
Nadia.
it? And they say the kind of the mix, the move around between weird, bonkers fun, and then it's like emotional moments. Like, wow, it's quite moving at the end, Jim.
It is, and you have to, just the basis of it. They know that Hank is going to protect Nadia as well, so that's the setup of him being a decent guy. That he's going to show up and protect Nadia, and so yeah, he should go. And Moon Knight, and they're talking about the idea of the sun and things like that and how wacky it is. But the idea is pretty good, so I liked it. But what would you give it?
Yeah, I really enjoyed it. As I say, it's a really good, fun issue. I'm going to give this a strong 8 out of 10.
I'm going to go 8.5. I'm now going to be Mr. Positive.
What is happening, folks? But ladies and gentlemen, you heard it here first.
Maybe it's because we have to get to the next book.
Oh,
That's what it is. And here's the thing.
I'm sorry I made you read the next one, Jim. I've got to apologize in advance.
I actually had to catch up on all this, too. So I kind of went through all the issues leading up to this big reveal on all new Venom.
God.
And
it started off okay, but I don't know. I kind of lost it.
Most of the stuff ends up being, when you see it's Mary Jane, it almost to me feels like, all right, this didn't have to last this many issues to get to this reveal because it's like a crazy reveal. You could have just had a one shot where Mary
felt
Jane
very drawn
out
to get to this point. Issue 5.
So
unbelievable.
I ended up looking up some articles, and I wanted to see what people thought. And this is All New Venom number 5. So Mary Jane, there's the spoiler. Mary Jane is the all new Venom. So when, you find this out, there was videos, there was leaks, there was all these things going on. And at some places, you'll see people losing their mind. Is it that big of news? I'm telling you, the idea of where Marvel is at this point, where in Amazing Spider-Man, Peter died. I mean, in the last bunch of issues, Peter got his neck snapped. He died.
He's like not even noticed.
Nobody
forgot about it or something.
And because they just must have thought, now you can tell me all along, comic book deaths. What? No. That doesn't matter. We've had recent deaths where Miss Marvel, people lost their mind. Oh my God. Nobody even realized that Peter Parker had died in the Spider-Man book. And so when you get this, I saw the usual deal, and you have the video, but I didn't see what should have been the general. Like when you start having the idea where CNN reports on it, or you have, when you start seeing news outlets that aren't comic book deal, like you do have in the big things, wasn't this. And Then I look, and there's 2 reviews, or 3 reviews. There's hardly any reviews, and the big. Not hardly any 2 user reviews on Comic Book Roundup. Both of them seem to be fine with it. They're like, pretty cool.
They're both positive. Yeah.
So because this is the thing, I think that what happens now, and I kind of would say I know, but I don't like to, put myself on the line there. But the idea where people would just hear this and say, Marvel's screwed up. Like, you know what I mean? Like all of a sudden, she was jackpot. Now she's not. The whole play of this, I think people just roll their eyes and
how
don't
can she
care.
be 2 things at the same time? She's meant to be a superhero, right? She's meant to be Jackpot, whatever that is, really. But now she's an all new Venom as well.
Now she's
how does that work, Jim?
Venom. I don't know. She's Venom Pot. Venom Pot sounds pretty good. Sounds sexy.
It's crazy. Anyone could have found out this by just checking the solicits. They had like the variant covers, and it's got Mary Jane's face on. There's a reprint cover for this issue already. Like,
the big thing with Dylan, and he's trying to figure it out, and the idea that Paul and Mary Jane kind of taking care of
You were saying
Dylan.
He should have been Paul, Jim. That would have been hilarious, and then we could have watched him die.
Yeah, the best thing is people
sorry,
are going
Paul.
down. And even in this, you have Luke, don't say sorry to Paul. You have on the thing at the beginning, Luke Cage, Rick Jones, Robbie Roberts, Dylan, Madam Mask, Mary Jane, Paul. In my mind, the best solution, though, we'll talk about Venom fans because I'm sure they would lose their mind. But if Paul was Venom, just make him full out. I would actually more like Paul as Carnage. Get Eddie back to Venom, because make Paul just straight up villain. He's kind of a genocidal maniac. Just make him go
villain.
that way. Play out the whole deal that this was all along.
Because he is. He's a villain. They're not writing him as one, but he is.
He's a villain to every reader, but he also is kind of a genocidal maniac. So you end up, and people will bring that up. Well, you'll see people on Twitter, and it'll just be #genocide, like all these bad things. But they seem to forget about that.
Nick Lowe self-insert.
Exactly.
That's
so if it was Paul with his man bun, it'd be funny seeing Venom with a man bun. That would have been the big tell.
If it'd been Venom, then there could have been a huge fight between him and Peter, Spider-Man and Venom, like the old days.
The gut reaction of having Paul as Venom would be, I hate Paul. But think about the idea that you could then have Venom be a character that even the symbiote would probably not like Paul. And you could have all these things going on. I think there's more opportunity with that. And also he gets out of everything. And if you don't like him, then you don't buy the all new Venom. But that's the problem. I think that what they're doing here is, oh, we're going to put Mary Jane in here so it'll sell. This issue will be something where people will grab, but they'll be grabbing first appearance of Mary Jane, all new Venom. And so are they going to read it? Because I don't think I care for Mary Jane to be, all new Venom. I didn't like Jackpot. Jackpot, again, they made a hero that had such an ambiguous power set where she's like a slot machine, but she gets
it's
to
like Forrest Gump, isn't it?
respin.
The box of chocolates. You never know what you're gonna get.
You never know what you're going to get. But when she's there and
powers.
she's fighting an electrical base, she's fighting Shocker, spins the wheel. Oh no, I have this. I don't like that. Let me respin it. Ruin the character. They never set the idea. Why didn't they have it so it's a set
like
deal?
in the middle of a fight, you got this huge villain fighting you. Oh, can you just hang on a minute while I just reset?
Yeah, just resets the whole time. And I said,
I'm going to kill you.
When it first happened, I said, you have to have a play where she can only spin again every hour. That you have to use your brains to make what works. That makes it fun. That's Dial H. That's the fun of it, where you end up like, oh man, I have to run real fast. I hope I'm the Flash. You spin it, you're Fat Flash. That happened at one point. And so that's the fun. But Mary Jane as Venom, what are we doing? And
no idea.
I want to ask
why
you
is it taking 5 issues
it.
to get to this as well? We've had all this build up and a lot of talking in all the issues.
Screen Rant is one of my favorites to come in with the worst headlines. Or I love the idea, like Screen Rant is always like 3 months late on half the things they report, as if it happened the day before. But they did have an article about Mary Jane being all new Venom. And the thing was that the blurb in it was something like the mystery that everybody in comicdom has been waiting with bated breath. I'm like, really? You think? Like most people just end up saying,
no idea about it.
You know why? Or at least the people who talk to me, why they like this book a little? Because they told me that Dylan throws shade at Paul throughout. And it's true. And that's the best part. That's the only thing that I really liked. I think this book is a nothing book to get a weird reveal that I think most people just don't seem to care that much about. And if they do, it's people yelling. But I think the people yelling aren't reading it anyway. I think the people who are yelling are the people who are like, I've had enough of Marvel and this is another stupid idea. It's not going to get them back, but I don't think they've been reading anyway because I can't find many people who are. But I'll give you the credits and then we'll talk a little bit about. But really all this is, hey, look, Mary Jane. At the end, she seems very happy about it too. All new Venom. Number 5, I'm sorry. Al Ewing writing, Carlos Gomez on art, Frank D'Armata on colors, and VC's Clayton Coles on letters. And Robbie goes to Paul and starts giving him the idea of this drawn out. Robbie knows who it is and goes to Paul and spends a whole issue of like baiting him in and try to do this like he wants him to reveal, but why doesn't he just go into
Did you
Paul,
feel like it went on forever for you, Jim? God almighty, like how many pages of him talking?
Why does he go in and he's like, yep, kind of know, like where's Mary Jane? Oh, she's out appointment. Oh, as herself or Jackpot? You know about Jackpot? Seriously, when she's going around even with a mask, you got to tell it's her.
I didn't even think she had a mask, She's just Mary Jane with a Jackpot costume, isn't she?
What it reminds me of, if you're reading DC, is you get Lois going around as this new Superwoman.
Yes,
deal
exactly.
With no mask, nothing changed, and nobody can seem to figure it out. I'm like, really? So you end up with that part where Robbie's just like, hey, got a real red herring here. I'm telling you, he might as well just keep just saying. First off, Paul is so dense, I think, that he's just like, I don't get it. Like, hey, and then they go through what this is the idea of let's go through all the suspects.
Sus. Emphasis on sus there, Jim. Definitely.
And it's like the play of this is what Al Ewing's trying to do. This would be in a courtroom where you would have, okay, well, at first we thought it was Madame Mask, but then we didn't think it was her. And then we thought it was this. And going through the whole thing you don't need that. We just want the reveal. So it's kind of like, okay, I see you're recapping everything to go, but it's boring. And it's Robbie sitting there with Paul. Yeah. Nobody likes Paul. And at one point, Robbie is one of the suspects. if Robbie was Venom, there'd be nothing. Like,
well, that's
nobody
it. At one
would
point,
care.
he sat there to say the Paul, and he just said, okay, Mary Jane's out. She's jackpot. I know that. What is it? So the suspect is between, was it, the three of us here? So it's not Paul. It's not him.
Yeah, and they kind of
Obviously, it's
think,
Mary
and
Jane.
is it Dylan? And the thing that keeps going is the idea of protecting Dylan, and Dylan had these suspects, and Dylan this, and I think that this would. So it's all the idea of either Paul or Mary Jane. But we kind of know because Paul's talking to Robbie at this point while we see Venom out and about. So it just kind of,
so it can't be either of those two.
so
Yeah,
it's Mary
that's it.
Jane. And again, some of the suspects, who would have cared about any of all of them? The big splash would be Mary Jane, but you just made her jackpot, and that didn't work. And so it seems like they keep trying desperately. My main take, the hot take of this, is the idea Mary Jane works as Mary Jane. Mary Jane's Mary Jane. The idea that you have separated her from Peter is the thing that makes her less, viable. That because you're not going to have her as much in Amazing Spider-Man. So where does she show up? You could solve this right now by having her break up with Paul. Everybody would applaud and have her go back into Amazing Spider-Man and do things with Peter and Spider-Man. Yeah. But instead, they want to make her own character, which is fine. But you're doing it in the worst ways. You're trying to elevate her by giving her powers and things like that. Mary Jane is great because she's Mary Jane. And again, this all has to do with the idea that they will not let Peter and Mary Jane be together, but they want to have Mary Jane continue to be in books and maybe have her own solo book like this. So they have to make gimmicks. And that's all it is. It's a gimmick to get her into a book. But do people, I said to you, who are the ones who are going to be mad? Mary Jane fans, because you will get Mary Jane. Like I said, with this whole play of even Jackpot, they're just trying to make it so that Mary Jane fans can get more Mary Jane. But is that the Mary Jane they want? But are Venom fans going to lose their mind about this? Because, I don't know, I wouldn't want to say that Mary Jane is slumming it, but you're also making it feel like you have to have gimmicks for Venom, too. Which, that Venom run with Eddie and Dylan, with Donny Cates was great. And that
was really good. Yeah, the whole father and son dynamic. That made a really big part of the story, wasn't it?
Is the problem that Venom got big and now they want to try to keep getting it big again? Because it's Venom.
I don't get it. I don't get it. What you said is exactly right. Like, how will making Mary Jane Venom make Venom, the book, more popular? It's not going to work, is it? You're only going to be pleasing the Mary Jane fans, I guess, or half of them.
Without Donny Cates, like the idea of Dylan being Venom, all the Al Ewing stuff in the Venom and the God Garden, and then Eddie Brock Carnage book, that's pretty good.
God.
I like that book, but that God Garden stuff, and at one point Ram V was involved, it was a mess. And so you kind of, you're trying to get that, lightning in a bottle again. Because remember, at one point in that fame or that time frame, Donny Cates' Venom was selling way better than anybody ever would have thought it was. And Al Ewing's Immortal Hulk was selling like Hulk and Venom were huge.
Yeah, they were at that point, yeah.
Yeah. So they're trying to keep the fire burning, as REO Speedwagon sang at one point. But it's just you're using gimmicks and things like that. And I don't think so. This should stop. Maybe Venom should maybe go away for a little and then come back as something with Dylan, whatever. But have Mary Jane go back to Peter, and then you have Mary Jane in books. But again, Marvel is about one thing, more books. That's all they do. And anytime you hear Tom Brevoort talk, it's about the bean counters want this. That's why we have 8 million X-Men books. And then they're all bad and get canceled. Then you have an extra. You got to do something here. And this was not it. And I think that maybe it's like people probably get this reveal and it's a jumping off point, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah.
Do you want to see Mary Jane as Venom? I just don't see it.
We're going to see Mary Jane fight Venom in the next issue, I guess. And then Paul's like stuck in the middle. No, Paul's still the man in the chair, isn't he? He's just watching.
Yeah, he's just watching, just with his man bun. And one of the things coming up, Anti-Venom is coming up in the deal. And I like Flash. I like Anti-Venom, but that's all. You're just going to get these weird plays. You're going to get Venom, who is not going to do much. Even in the solicits, it says that Flash knows that Mary Jane is Venom, so he can't do anything, but he's got to protect her. And again, you're starting to do weird things that don't feel Venom-esque. But when Robbie says, really the only thing left is the reddest herring. And Paul's like, I don't know what you're talking about.
Nudge, nudge, wink, wink. And like Paul's just like, huh?
And then you go back to the trial. And but while that's going on, the fun part of it is you have MODOK fighting Sleeper and Venom. And MODOK's just like, I'm going to blast you all. I'm going to kill you. Ends up where at one point you have Venom, Mary Jane put her symbiote arms up into the nostrils of MODOK. And he's so pissed because he says he can't wipe his nose because he's got his little T-Rex arms. That was funny. Like that
was probably the best
pretty
part
fun.
of the issue. That was the funniest part, yeah.
Rick Jones is Sleeper. It gets very muddled up because you end up Rick's yelling, the Sleeper symbiote's yelling, and then you even have, Venom, Mary Jane, all these things going on. And really, Mary Jane / Venom are telling Rick, like, you can't, and Sleeper specifically, you can't just control people and stuff. It's not great. At the end, like so many people see, because the symbiote goes away from Rick, but then he mind controls everybody to wipe their minds.
Who's talking during that fight as Venom? Is it Mary Jane talking as Venom, or is Venom talking as Venom?
It seems like it's Mary Jane as Venom, but
God, I'm so confused.
Yeah, and it is one of the things when you get too many symbiotes going. But Madame Mask ends up realizing who's who, and she skedaddles, so she knows that's out there. But I don't know that that's that interesting. And in the meantime, you just have MODOK, which is fun. And then the Sleeper symbiote goes on to MODOK and kind of makes him kind of go to bed. Bedtime for MODOK. It's kind of funny, but seeing him with the symbiote deal is actually looks pretty cool. Like I would even like a figure of that, like a Funko Pop of Sleeper villain or Sleeper symbiote MODOK is funny.
Yeah, MODOK does look a lot better with the mask and the helmet on, doesn't he? Thank God.
And all this is to, keep you guessing who it is, but it's more Rick Jones Sleeper. And I do like the Sleeper deal. I like the whole cat persona and things like that at one point hanging out a lot with Dylan. So you end up like, okay, who's this villain or Venom? Keep saying villain. And then even then, because Mary Jane ends up using this like propulsion that looks like it's like poop propulsion, shooting the symbiote goo out the back to kind of propel herself up. But this has weakened the Venom symbiote, and the Venom says, hey, we got to go back to HQ, and we have to get some food and rest. And again, I'm like, no, even the Venom symbiote deal seems a little like tame with Mary Jane, but they end up going back. And even that, it's like, we need the emergency chocolates. So we go back and you see the HQ is, there with Rob. And Robbie's there, and it seems like what Robbie's play is here is that he knows it's Mary Jane. He wants to let Paul down nice. Or just go in and say, listen, Mary Jane's Venom. We got to figure out this crap. But they go in and when Paul I love where Paul gets the sudden, epiphany that it's Mary Jane after all those hints. Because it's like, the symbiote would want Dylan to be taken care of, and Dylan there, and he's like, well, me and Mary Jane, we were asked to do this. And like, really? Or did you go to him? And oh my God, I'm like, get to it. And then Mary Jane just comes in. And of course, she has to again, one of the things with Mary, you don't have to use the jackpot line every time. Like,
no, they do because they've got no ideas of the original ideas.
Yeah, that's why I love
it. Yeah, Robbie, you hit the jackpot.
You hit the jackpot. I'm like, all right. I love it with the idea that Venom's like, I'm not dealing with that jackpot shit. Like all of a sudden we'll have Venom, but with the jackpot thing. So now she spins the wheel and then I'm like, yeah, it's not working. It just, that reveal, I think that more people groaned than got excited. But if you look at it at a standpoint of, I guess, the publishing deal, you see what they're trying to do. They're trying to make a big to-do. They think that this is going to wow everybody, that everybody's going to be talking about it, that it's going to be on newspapers and TV and whatnot. And those things are few and far between when that does happen. And usually even those things, when they happen, is that people end up losing their mind. It's always something that's like, oh my God, did you hear that this happened? And then people lose their minds. But the last time I think it might have been like John Kent being bisexual. That was like one of those things that hit more news, things than normal and things like that. But Mary Jane is Venom. I think the problem that they don't realize is, say you end up having that CNN, me and you are, Gray and Jim News. And we're like, hey, get this, Mary Jane is Venom. You then have to explain what that means to people, because not everybody does know what Venom is. And it gets too convoluted, I think, for the major press type deal. So it's
Well,
not
Jim,
a
they're
death.
going to explain it next issue, aren't they? That's right. You got to buy the next issue to find out why. Why did the symbiote choose Mary Jane?
Man, I'm telling you, it's going to be like, well, because Dylan needs to be protected, and Mary Jane's. I don't know.
You wanted
it's
a mother, maybe a mother figure for Dylan. Is that what you reckon it's going to go?
I don't know. It seems really hinged on protecting Dylan. Maybe what she'll say is, this is just me holding the place for, Dylan later. We got to figure out what Eddie's doing. Again, one of the things that you could end up having is Flash is anti-Venom versus, that's cool, but Carnage versus Venom, because it's Eddie Brock Carnage. And then that might be interesting. That will probably have to happen at some point. But I don't think this is going to end up being anything big. I think that it's all just a gimmick. I think it's all just pomp and circumstance. And
I'm looking down
I'll
some of the
check
comments.
that out.
These are earlier as well, Jim, for the next issue, but before people knew. And there's a lot of people saying it, think it's going to be Paul. Like, half of them are happy about it, half of them saying, please, no.
Paul.
Should have been Paul.
Paul as Carnage, Paul as a villain works because everybody hates him already. And they're never not going to hate him. The best that Paul could think to do is to have people just not care about him, but most people hate him, and most people hate him because they think Mary Jane's too smart to be with him. He ends up being, genocidal, as they say, and even he mentions his dad in here. But the idea of that keeping Peter from her and Shay, I don't mind. Like, Shay doesn't get the crap that Paul does.
No, she doesn't.
Play
That's interesting, isn't it?
Here's the weird thing, and you could go with the idea of it being a little bit sexist. The idea that Mary Jane and Paul. People blame Paul because they think he's kind of fooling Mary Jane.
Yeah, he's preventing Peter from being happy. He's preventing them from being together.
If you ask him, hey, Mary Jane, she's smart. Like, oh, no, Paul's got to be doing something. Like, they're never going to say Mary Jane's the best. But in The Amazing Spider-Man, Peter with Shay, like, oh, well, Mary Jane's with Paul and Peter this. Like, nobody really has a lot of hate for Shay, but she's kind of nice. And actually, she throws a lot of shade.
Not, or is he with Felicia, Black Cat? Or is that just his one night stand?
That last issue, they seem to go off the bang. Shay and thing. They're like, "Hey, let's get back together." And Joe Kelly said that they would be together. So
I listened to your review. Yeah, you were getting quite excited about that.
It's sexy. Oh my god! But what's Peter going to say when he finds out that Mary Jane's Venom? And because of the things that could mean and do and whatnot. But
that's probably the most interesting it could become if it's written well. But you know what, Jim? Like, it's Al Ewing, so I wanted to give this mini series. I don't know, it's ongoing. Give it a chance because I thought it would at least be something a bit fun, a bit goofy. But to be honest, it's been more boring than anything.
I get bored a lot with Al Ewing. Or he just drives me nuts. I'm not the biggest fan,
drives you nuts.
But I see people all the time with this, like the Metamorpho book. It looks like a DC. That Metamorpho book, and it seems to be canceled. And people are like, oh my God, I can't believe it. DC would have the gall to cancel an Al Ewing book. I'm like,
wow.
Really? Because Marvel has that gall a lot of times. That Avengers Inc. Holy moly, I finally got into that book because Jason somehow brainwashed me to like it. And then it got canceled. And you never got anything out of it. And then all these other things, like people just know, most of the people, there's people in the know, but the idea of, oh man, Al Ewing, he's awesome. Immortal Hulk. He's had like 15 books since.
It's like, how many years ago was that now?
Defenders Beyond and all this stuff that you will have people say, like, oh, that was awesome. I wish it'd continue. But that's the problem. None of them do because they don't sell and nobody cares about Mary Jane Venom. But maybe we'll see a big upswing and people be fired up. I don't know. But what would you give it?
I'm going to give this a 5, a straight 5 out of 10.
Yeah, I'm a 5. Everything's okay.
Yeah, it's okay. It looks a bit off at times. There's some weird looking panels, but great cover though, by the way. The main cover's awesome.
Yeah. The fight with the MODOK was fun, but even that feels like almost like a gimmick. Nothing feels like it matters. You just want to know who the all new Venom is. And when you find out, you're just like, okay, well, that seems to not have...
It looked okay, but it was just there to stretch out the story, wasn't it? Just to stretch out the reveal.
Almost like a cold open. You just needed Mary Jane to be doing something as Venom, so she wasn't there in the room with him when Robbie's talking to Paul. But also, one thing I'm going to go down to a 4.5 because you're right. I like the MODOK stuff. Looks great. I think a lot of, what doesn't look great is the cliffhanger page with Mary Jane. That looks terrible. She looks weird. The angle is off. everything there. And that's what's going to be on everything when they have these crazy videos and articles. And that doesn't look great. That should have been a thing that looks like you sign it. You take it to, a convention and really take some time. It's a weird deal of her coming in that doorway, and it just doesn't look
She
great.
lost her arm. We left her arm.
Look, the arms in there.
Elbow.
It does look like a nub. You have that. Her
What's
eyes,
going on
because of the
there?
angle, is weird. Also, it looks like Venom is pretending he's talking on a cell phone. And he's like got a call going or something, and it even looks like
it's like he's putting a thumbs down, isn't he?
And it looks like the way she came through, he would have hit his head on that doorway, and it's not even a doorway. I don't even know what's going on there. I guess it's like through there into a deal, but yeah, it should have been, in my mind, have the fight mean a little more with MODOK, but in that have her and Venom injured a bit. And then when she comes in, she's like, almost like, help me, Paul, and the Venom symbiote's kind of coming off of her because they are so injured. And instead of just coming in and says, yeah, Robbie, you hit the jackpot. What do you respond to that with? Like the idea of this actually being for real, and you end up, I think that Mary Jane's Venom. Yeah, Robbie, do you get a gun and start shooting her? Because it seems very nefarious, like she's going to do something. What do you say? What does Robbie go? Yeah, I guess I did. I'll see you later. Jumps out the window. Paul's like, and
I knew it all along. Pushes Paul out the window.
Okay, here's the only glimmer of hope. Now that I think of it, there's only one person that's going to be pissed off about this, and it's Paul. She didn't tell him, and she's been Venom, so he might get pissed off, and maybe he gets the hell out. Maybe he's like, I'm packing my bags, you lying.
He looks really pissed off, doesn't he, at the end? Those couple of panels.
Maybe he's like, you did this, you didn't tell me, how dare you? I'm going to go back to that displaced time dimension where everybody's dead and maybe have some fake kids again.
He's going to start crying, though, Jay, because it's like, wait a minute, you're supposed to be Jackpot. I've been helping you. I'm the man in the chair.
Like, what am I going to do? That's all I have.
Jackpot's my thing.
Oh, no.
And now you're Venom.
Guess what? Maybe it will be his thing. Maybe Paul will become Jackpot.
Oh, God. It's unbelievable.
Same costume, and he'll stuff the bra, and he'll be just going around, hey, I'm Jackpot. See, there we have some fun. He may become Jackpot. He may,
Robbie's the man in the chair.
Robbie's the man in the chair. He's got something to do. He's like, what the hell's going on? He's like, this chair stinks. Yeah, they could have that. Like, no, that'd be good. Is there any cover coming up with Jackpot? With that, I need Paul to be Jackpot, and that would be fun.
Can you see Robbie with a man bun? Maybe.
Yeah, that Robbie's like, I'm going to look at the one point when he says, "Oh, I'm sorry, Paul, you didn't know." He's rubbing the back of his head. He's thinking, I could go with a man bun there. It could be funny. He has like a fake man bun. He's in the chair, and then like Robbie. Mary Jane's like, hey, I need you. Paul's like, I need you. And Robbie says something, and then they're like, no, you have to say it like a real jerk, because Paul's a jerk. But yeah, so that would be kind of funny. That'd be hilarious. There's
Jim,
all sorts
aren't you
of
glad you caught up
possibilities.
these issues to read this and review it?
Yeah, I
with me?
read these all in a row, and I'm like, I could have just read this last one. I was so angry. Get up at like 6:30 this morning to read all these issues.
My God.
Moon Knight, though, is good, and I'm glad that that is back. I'm sure
that is really good. That's a recommend.
This all new Venom, and when they come out, whether they come out the same week or whatever, we'll try to follow them. But all new Venom will just say it's a short leash. I think most people will want to see what the next issue is all about. But
yeah,
I don't think
definitely the next issue.
I don't think it's going to be something that people are loving long term.
No.
It's just weird. It's just a weird gimmick type deal. I want to see what Dylan thinks. I want to see reactions from some of the characters to see if they think it's as stupid as we do.
Yeah.
And I like Mary Jane. It's just, again, she should. And I'm not one of those.
As you said, Jim, I like her being Mary Jane. Mary Jane should be Mary Jane. That's it.
Yeah, and I'm not one of those that, I'm not going to read anything if Mary Jane and Paul and Peter aren't together. But the whole play that I keep saying, though, is if you want Mary Jane in the books that bad, you can easily do that by bringing them back together and go that route. And then you could even have, side things or whatever. But it's like they're desperately trying to figure out what to do with Mary Jane. So they keep giving her gimmicks, and we'll see how that goes. We'll see. But I want to see. I want to look around and see if anybody's reacting, because I don't really see it except for comments and videos and things like that. But I don't see anybody, on Twitter hey, this is the greatest thing ever or whatnot. But we'll see. I'll go check a little more. But I am a 4505. But that's it for you joining me. Thank you for joining me for expanded coverage. As I said, we'll try to get a bunch more people involved. I reached out to a couple people and, get some more meat on the bone here. I'll have some news and eventually we'll even have some mail. And again, if you want to email us, if you're listening, you can email us at weirdsciencemarvelcomics@gmail.com and we'll read the deal. And if you end up mailing in and like, hey, about Venom, I'll wait until Gray's on with me again and we'll go through that. So if it's something specific like that, we won't have a specific mail section. We'll just do it within the parts of the different
Sounds
people.
good.
So
Sounds like a plan.
That. Yeah, that's that. And we'll expand some things and get some things rolling like back in the day. Because back in the day, we did have a longer show. It's just that there's been a lot of crap at Marvel. I started getting a lot of crap for reviewing stuff that was crap. But we'll get back to it. We just
that's
did that
it, Jim.
book.
You saying it's not. You're not over exaggerating. There haven't been that many good books for a while. We were getting worried at one point, weren't we? I think comic shops were worried too. But they seem to be selling though.
They have a ton of books. It's just not many were great.
Yeah,
and when you start dropping some things, there's not much left. So I get the idea that if you listen to the podcast and there's like, okay, they're talking about Spider-Boy again, which was this week, but that's ending. So there's some. Then there's some other books.
You got me into that as well, Jim.
Yeah,
and it's finishing.
I like it. And it's finishing up. But yeah, there's a bunch of other books. We'll be able to dive in and find some gems, I guess. If we were doing this a while back, I would have had you do Kid Venom with me. That book is something that nobody really talks about, and I kind of like, but I'm a little behind.
No way.
Yeah, I kind of like it. I'm a little behind, but
it.
Nobody's talking about it. But it is like, back in the day, Japan and stuff like that. So it's kind of cool. But with that, thanks for joining me, Gray.
Cheers.